find out before the decider, whether that be against Elevate or Fury before that. So I'm confident that they have something up their sleeve here on Bank. They're ready to go. They're locked in for this first map.
So, elimination game, Daystar on the run through the lower bracket, which was at the hands of Soul's Heart, now seeking that revenge here in the lower bracket semi-final win, and you go to the lower bracket final next week at an opportunity against Team Orchid. And again, reiterate, apologize. I was very much wrong, guys, when I was saying about the playoff play-in. That is decided in the grand final, which is where Weibo sit. Does mean, of course, regardless, they are off to the major, Weibo securing their place. The first team to do so as well, by the way, in APAC, because of the 2-slot shenanigans. As Daystar looking to see if they can potentially join them. And if I'm going to be honest as well, guys, for Orchid, Soul's Heart, and Daystar, I don't really think they would care about whether it's playoff or play-in, determined by the grand final. I think they just want to get there.
Yeah. No, I would say I would certainly agree with that sentiment. Oh, the Cav. Was it you that was mentioned? Was it that today or yesterday? I feel like I'm meshing.
It was today.
Days. Okay, it feels like about 3 centuries ago that you mentioned it, but this will be the first appearance of Cav in Asia, correct?
Yep. Leaves
and it was,
Thunderbird.
Was it Thunderbird, the only one left now? Yeah.
Well, if Chef Jeff were to come over for a day, it would get played.
Yeah. Or Shifters. I think Shifters was the only other team globally that had played it.
Oh, funnily enough, actually, it was SAL the other day that I was on with Mr. Dev Marta, and we saw some Thunderbird. I think I'm the first person that has ever said the word Chef Jeff on a South American League broadcast. I gave him a shout out, gave him the reference. maybe, well, could be. Soul's Heart defense first up on
what
Bank.
Is this?
This is
see, this is what Soul's Heart can do sometimes. They have the I don't know, they have this aura about them at times. They can perform strange feats and go for unusual plays. Maybe bringing some of that more old school APAC flair into the server. It can serve them well at times if their opponents are caught off guard, but at the same time, if Daystar switched on and can start reading these style of players, then they could find themselves being punished. Mr. Punch will not commit to the hold garage, instead given the license to roam. As for Daystar, double shield into this basement attack. The bans as well, to quickly note: Kaid, Mirror, Ace, and Grim.
Yeah, I was just looking at some of the numbers kind of coming into today, and Daystar actually, I guess probably because of the lower bracket run, they're actually ahead attack and defense win rate over Soul's Heart. So it's a big pinch actually over towards Stock. Well, there goes the Cav. That was pretty easily dealt with. Clearly knew about Mr. Punch and his location over towards Stock, and it does not pay off. If you're going to go for something a little bit fun and a little bit silly, round 1 of map 1 of a best of 3 is maybe the one area I'd be like, yeah, why not? Have a bit of fun, see if you can get something. But it is on
also
lockers and CCTV.
Defense. Yeah, you're throwing this side. Like, this should be the freebie side. You give Daystar an opportunity here, they'll take it. They're not going to mess around.
It is the one side, though, that Fort with 5 is not unwinnable.
No. Oh. Shots landing onto Bin, but he'll flick the shield in time. And in the meantime, Peak has been able to take space in through open. Trying to force the hand of this defense. And the flush will follow.
Nice shot from Seal. Gives them a significant advantage. And poor old DCH over towards Blue Stairs, who's playing the default position and isn't really going to be able to probably feel as safe now playing Blue Stairs, especially if Square Hatch gets opened up. He can easily get pinched, pressured, and he won't have anywhere near as much help. If they start walk, they can go pretty direct here, but they've got double shield. They've got time as well to still deal with this utility that does remain from Soul's Heart. And yeah, DCH is getting completely overwhelmed over towards Blue Stairs, and it seems like it's going to be almost flawless. It's Mark, can he at least find a kill? He will not. Flawless from Daystar. The sting of the round was probably completely zapped out as soon as Mr. Punch went down in Stock on the Cav, and that really just gave Soul's Heart a good opportunity. Seal then getting that headshot just before the Scatman dropped down hatch. Pretty much solidified things as Daystar get a freebie to start on Bank.
Yeah, never a great feeling as a defensive team to lose bank basement up first, especially in that kind of fashion where it was pretty comprehensive around the map. Didn't help themselves with the ineffective cav. Forfeited a lot of space open area pretty easily as well. And then the collapse on site.
Need to locate and defuse
Pretty much offered no resistance there from the defense. So not the most optimal start, but again, very, very early days in the context of this particular series. Soul's Heart pivot, that will go top floor now in response for the second round. And the early comp here from DAYSTAR is pretty intriguing. It's seemingly going to be inclusive of the Kali. The ranged hard breach of the Habana is still available, so they'll look to leverage that as well. And so the mirror is banned out, so that's the primary purpose of the Kali here. But with the castle in play, whether that's in anticipation or it's been spotted out, the Kali will be a very useful tool in combination with Sophia as well, funnily enough, to deal with those barricades.
Yeah, and just a reminder, I mean, it's been the common kind of talking point from last weekend and I guess following into this weekend too, about the warm-up fatigue of having to play the 2 best of 3s in a given day. And so far within at least APL, the team that's played the 2 series has typically had the better result. So that's something to keep in the back of the mind as DAYSTAR, of course, are playing their second series today. Their first match started almost 6 hours ago. And so it may end up being a 9 to 10 hour kind of day for them. And there is a bit of fatigue in that. That's why it's warm up versus fatigue. But so far so good. And I think if they start well, win their map of bank, a Consulate, they'll feel like they will have a very good opportunity, even if it is Soul's Heart's map pick. They did win it last time, did DAYSTAR. So I know, just sitting blue stairs trying to get some information on the Solus. Was top floor CO executive the site for the second round. So really just trying to scout out drones, maybe where the kid is.
Reto is able to deal with some of that util as well. There's so much layering of that with the castle and the Izami in play. Azuki dealing with some barbed wire entry point as well now towards site. Soft breach dealt with. None of the smokes have been used just yet by the attack, and that's likely because they want to leverage the glass. This is aggressive from I9. I don't think he's been droned either. No, yeah, definitely hasn't.
I like this position though as well. Yeah, I mean, Azuki's never going to be aware of that, and then Bin started to push out.
Okay,
and that's a bit much.
That's a bit much.
That's a heat check from I9. But he's done his job. He got the 2 kills. Completely disrupts the attack. Got rid of the glass, so you can't play that as now a power play later in the round. They could have gotten the smokes out and let the glass do his thing. Pika needs to win this battle, and he does against Mr. Punch down the hallway. It's back to a 3v3. Lying to position a seal, maybe having expected for Scatman to swing out Janitor to go for the trade onto Pika. He had it covered. And then in the end, Pika just opted to swing himself. Fortunately, Seal was there for the trade, but he gets caught as well on the push up towards Square from Mark. Souffle by himself, still outside of the building. As Soul's Heart have locked in the second round. Smoke out, Repel in. Pre-fire spray, unsuccessful from DCH, but he recovers, and Soul's Heart do confirm the round.
Yeah, again, they just made that a little more difficult for themselves than it probably needed to be with the I9 jump out and some shenanigans elsewhere, but they had afforded themselves the advantage there to be a risk-taking a little more than what was ideal. Either way, though, they walk away with the round win. Here is that lurk play from I9. Good little trigger discipline, not to reveal his position early. And it was a pretty simple lineup between the two. The rest of DAYSTAR did an okay job in keeping steady. Some good trades into the 2-2. But then Mark's position down below was pretty unpredictable, leaving Souffle on a bit of an island. And so the scoreline now sits 1 apiece over to open area for the third.
Protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Camera ready to activate. Laser gate in place. Setting on laser ready.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the jump out from I9 was a little bit silly, but that was the difference last time between these two teams was his aggressive plays early on. 9-2 on the entry, dropped 37 kills. Of course, it was a 3-mapper that played almost close to 40 rounds. Close to, but not quite. Just a little bit below. Interestingly enough, in that series, Pika was the lowest rated player in the server, but he's been performing really, really well today. So you kind of think about what are the differences between two teams that I think are largely similar in skill. Pika has a good day, maybe I9's a little off, and that's maybe all it takes. Something along that. Half an open area. Good enough. Had their fun with the cabin off the ground, and it seems like now we are very much playing for business. Pick it in towards square on the Blackbeard. Well, he has been taken low. Scatman getting pressured by the flash over towards Stock. There's going to be another one thrown in. Tried to get aggressive, and Seal was ready and waiting. And that's a lovely clear over towards Stock. Nice and early into the round as well for Daystar to clear that, get its control, deal with Scatman. Suki with the kill on to DCH as well, and so far it's Daystar that have started better here in this third round.
Oh. Yeah. Very much now theirs to lose. Has been a pretty comprehensive clear from them. Mr. Punch main stairs elsewhere. Mark targeted by the Deimos. So tricky to envision these two being able to clutch up the round. Mark did find one, but in the meantime, Mr. Punch fell. So it leaves it in a 1v4. Lots of time now remaining for Daystar. It should be as simple, really, as getting Pika in a position to scout on the Blackbeard, and then the rest of the team to react off that info.
Let's get the down to Souffle and the kill onto Pika. It's a 1v2 with a minute to go, and becomes winnable now for Mark. Zuki and Seal just got to make sure they think their way through this, because you want to double stack together, but then that gives him the capabilities of getting the 2 quick kills, but you also don't want to split up and create the 1v1s. Holds over towards Printer.
Yeah, here we go.
Sorry, the frag grenade, but they haven't cleared the position. By the way, Kit left behind above, so they need to go for the kills. Had a chance there, Mark. Frag grenade further pushed back. Can he create the 1v1s? Gets tagged up, and no, as soon as he pushed out, Seal was ready and waiting. Daystar do not let that opportunity slip.
Yeah, got a little scary there, but Mr. Punch was unable to vacate that position fast enough, and the drone was able to confirm that he hadn't moved. Double frag grenade meant that it was pretty simple to dislodge.
Is I9 in a bathroom?
I didn't see. Not sure. Maybe.
We head into the bands. It's the clash in the Blackbeard, and no one is surprised as we see the shields take it away. Clash, of course, wasn't played in the first 3 rounds, guys, but it's always one of those cases where they're going to ban the Blackbeard, and if they do that, there's a world in which they may want to then start playing the Clash. We're just going to not allow them to be able to use that as a fallback option.
Yeah, nice clutch attempt there from Mark, but clean from Daystar in the end.
Attackers need to
So
locate and defuse as many
2-1
bombs as
the
they can.
scoreline. We return to basement. Last time out, Soul's Heart trolling a bit on this site. They had the cav pick, died early. Rest of the hold was unfortunately not particularly substantial. And so, yeah, interested to see how a more consolidated hold here will stack up. It was actually flawless last time out from Daystar. So the anticipation will be that this time around it's a little more competitive between the two.
Wall secured!
mean, this is this is quite aggressive still from Soul's Heart. It's clearly not as extreme as what we saw previously, but big presence offside, second floor presence. Open area hatch is open. They're still looking to go direct lobby, so maybe indicative that we see a gold drop or played out main elevator.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like they've essentially swapped the cab for the Legion and then dropped the castle for the smoke. So the smoke will very much just play basement, but I imagine they do still want to have some kind of aggression above basement, just not Kavira level. Ooh. Oh no, it was almost a walk into the wall bang over towards main stairs. Obviously, the Legion can be a big nuisance for the Monty, as Pika did step on one of the goo mines. It's DCH top square. This is the same position that I got an earlier kill on, and it will work against Azuki. Clearly, Daystar are aware of the way that Souls are playing this, but you can be aware. It doesn't mean you know exactly what positions they're holding. But that's twice now in that position. Daystar have lost a player to a defender. From here on out, the remainder of this half, you've got to be very cautious of that square. Doesn't matter, they've still got the 4v3 advantage, and 9-9 now slips in towards Archives to try and catch Bin, and will do so. Bin a little bit careless as well.
Yeah. The blinders seem to be on for both teams at the moment.
They've surely trapped in I9. Oh my, whoa! God, only I9 can do that in this series! Oh, that is absolutely next level. And may just haunt Daystar after what he did to them last time. He should have been dead to rights. It should have been really a Daystar 3-1 lead.
There's a time here for Souffle. Has a drone, sense util. Count him out. But Mr. Punch will be able to space him with the gas canisters. There's also BPC on site, so this is really tricky.
One more gas babe after this. The issue as well is if he does want to opt for a rotate, it's going to eat up the clock massively. And really, it's either, what, a push down main stairs or a hatch drop as the option. It seems like it'll be hatch drop with the ROV. The good thing with the hatch drop is if a gas babe is thrown out, there's a bit more space. Oh, the ADSs have just completely ruined his plan here. And a drop down as Mr. Punch gets the free kill. That is I9's round. It's all down to this man right here, and he does look like that's a bathroom, isn't it?
That's a shower. He's in the shower setup. He's ready to cool off between the maps. Yeah. Good little play over towards Archives. The re-aggress was definitely the right decision to back up what DCH kind of laid out in front of them with the pick top square. Finds that one. Soul's Heart have advantage momentarily, gets caught, but then I9 finds this pocket of space. And gets the first, and probably could have tried to evac at that point, but hits the wall bang, and the second there onto the Monty. Nice little play from him. And that was a good opportunity for Daystar to win basement 2 times in a row. But they don't convert, and the scoreline now sits to a piece.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, good opportunity is probably an understatement. They really should have. With the Monty pushing into Archives, I9's position, he's pretty much trapped, and Daystar didn't do as much wrong as it was more so just an insane play from I9. Like, even getting that first headshot kill, he probably should have then got traded at least by the Monty, but then the absolute quick reaction flick headshot. I mean, what are you meant to do against that?
10 seconds left before insertion.
Poor Pika just got his head ripped off so quick. And the irony is that after I9, I mean, there wasn't really much utility left for Soul's Heart, so they were just so vulnerable. It was just the gas babes. And it's pretty easy at that point when you have the Monty who can kind of push deep and just create a new position to plant. You can't then layer the whole site. 2 rounds to go in the half. It's been a fun one. One of these 2 teams will progress to next week's lower final. The other, their time done, and it. Well, the reality is Asia is a very competitive sub-region within APL. These 2 teams are both capable of making the major.
Let's see what I can find.
Yeah, absolutely. This should end up being a very close match between the 2, and Well, so far it is delivering. I9. Confidence falling after that last round. Oh, he's been spotted out though. I think, or perhaps not actually. Either way, it won't be a push through lobby immediately anyway.
Special charge. Stay clear.
As elsewhere, top square, DAYSTAR get to work. Wall open. I9 continuing to buy his time here. Don't know if Pika on Repel is aware of his position. Doesn't seem to be the case. Is Souffle aware of his position? I don't think so.
I think it's just the standard check. They must be aware of the fact there's someone below. Oh, yep, spotted him.
Swapping mags.
I mean, they're probably. Oh,
Poor.
oh, off the rappel goes Pika. Big kill from Mr. Punch towards front desk. And that's a big play now for Soul's Heart with I9 still sitting towards Tellers. They need to clear him. But there's only a minute left, and there goes the glasses. Mr. Punch has gotten another one. Pushing out from front desk, playing the hallway position.
Successfully deployed.
He's just moving around just enough to offset the attack of DAYSTAR and hits the headshot onto Souffle. Mr. Punch, 3 big kills in this round and essentially gives this one over, you would imagine, to Soul's Heart and allows the space for I9 to push ATMs. Doesn't see too much outside. I mean, Seal is out on the rappel, now in towards top square. So he'll make his way back in to fortify towards the site and needs to do so now in a hurry because they've been able to find 2 quick kills back, have DAYSTAR. Seal not quite sure where he's getting shot from. A little panic. Mark will shut down Azuki. And Seal's got 20 seconds and no, 0 seconds as Mark gets the final 2 kills. A well-deserved round win for Soul's Heart off the back of Mr. Punch.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, there are some sharp shots being hit inside the server at the moment. I tell you what, there's some wild trades going either way. Both of these two teams are looking very sharp. Sure, strategically, it may not be the deepest game ever played, but mechanically, it's been a bit of a treat so far. And so Soul's Heart now with the slight advantage, the first team to win back-to-back rounds here on Bank so far. It's Staff open next. One out last time by the attack of DAYSTAR. The early portion of that round was incredibly one-sided. It goes down on paper as a close one in the end in a 1v2, but overall it was pretty dominant from DAYSTAR. And it looks like they're going to bring a similar tool set to try and deal with this side established for that top floor and then flush out the objective. And as for Soul's Heart, they too are going to bring a pretty similar lineup as well, it would seem on paper. They dropped the Goyo though on this occasion. And I'll actually introduce the Azami into the lineup, so maybe sensing they need a little more coverage, whether that be above for the contest or down below on the side.
Jammer ready to activate.
I mean, you think about the fact that the opening round itself was a little bit of a throwaway round 2 from Soul's Heart. I mean, I'm not going to say they should be 4-1. We don't know what that round could have played like had they not gone into the whole Cav thing. But you know, obviously, it's been a good contest. It's, as you said, been some sharp shooting inside of the server, but most of the really sharp shooting has actually come from Soul's Heart. Mark's gotten a 3k, I9's gotten a 3k, Mr. Punch has gotten a 3k. So 3 rounds straight, Soul's Heart have been able to get good multi-kills. And to me, that's more of a highlight of, you know, who's really playing well right now. And it's clearly a couple of the members of Soul's Heart. And also 5 straight opening kill conversions from both teams. As we get underway in this final round, and there's another opening kill for Soul's Heart. They'll make it 3 in a row, 2 to DCH in the half. Shuts down Bin. But Souffle and Seal able to find 2 quick picks. Something we haven't probably seen a lot of from DAYSTAR at around this portion of the round. And when they lose an opening player, it just seems like it slowly but surely falls apart. This time they respond quickly. Now have the advantage.
Okay, well, can they convert this time around? It's certainly more competitive on the side of Soul's Heart and their ability to have disrupted this push a little bit. But now the entire team is forced back into site and there's so much time remaining for DAYSTAR. They'll be able to complete this hard breach. Still got a ram in pocket. Lion scan. The Monty of Pika can now push forward and squeeze out this archives hold for Mark. He's in a good position at the moment. Yellow ping. Mark is surely dead in the corner.
Yep, good call. Seal able to catch him coming out of archives. And Daystar might just be able to get that third attacking round. And this is where you've got to get Pika on the Monty to be the one to take the next point of contact, and they'll do that. With Soothplay above, watching it, see whether Pika can kind of push them into the more open areas. Open area. In fact, Pika just going really deep to get as much info as possible, and Souffle finally gets the angle that he was searching for through the hatch and leaves Scatman by himself in towers. And 3-3 is going to be locked in, all tied at the half. Nothing separating these two teams. So all tied at the half, 3 apiece in this lower bracket semi-final. A little back and forth, but I mean, Daystar never able to string 2 rounds together. Soul's Heart were at least able to do that. I think what we've seen from Soul's Heart so far has maybe looked a little better. In a 3-3 game, you know, maybe the one difference being that Cav play in the first round, and that's the determining factor as to kind of why this half may be tied. Interestingly enough, in the final round of the half, it was DCH who got the opening kill, but it was the first round where the opening kill did not get converted. So that too being a little separating factor as we head into the bans after the role swap timeout. So far, Ace and Smoke, and joining those 2 bans will be Habana and Tachanka, which is a good ban for lockers and CCTV. In fact, the Smoke and Tachanka ban to me indicates that Soul's Heart really want to win lockers and CCTV.
Yeah, it's an all-in investment from Soul's Heart on basement, and I guess equally Daystar. It's investment on top floor as well by taking away the ranged hard breach. Here's the breakdown of that last round. It's pretty methodical across the board from Daystar. Their ability to map clear has been really good on this objective. And Soul's Heart finding it tricky to recontest those key areas of the map as we get ready for basement. Best player inside of the server so far is Seal, 136 EPS, 7 kills. And about, yeah, some flashes of serious brilliance in the earlier series today against Elevate. So promising that he's been able to carry that momentum forward into Bank so far. On the flip side, it's a slightly more even spread, I suppose, in some regards. Mark leading the charge. 6 kills to 4. DCH, whilst -3-5, has actually been their best on entry at a 2-0.
10 seconds
So
to
he's
go.
been okay in the early round, probably just looking for a bit more impact late round.
5 seconds left.
Big second half coming up. Who can take the opening map of this series?
Changing mags.
Daystar's map pick. And it's the one map of the 3 that we have that is different from the last time these two teams played. Interesting Denari tripwire connectors over towards server. I mean, it really highlights the amount of viable options that you have on defense, even for a site like Locus and CCTV, where you take away the smoke and the Tachanka, which are very good operators in denial. So then Daystar just go full trap heavy. So you're going to have to waste your own time in dealing with a lot of the utility that has been set by Daystar and throw in a mirror for good measure.
Yeah, the Goyo is going to make the late round tough, especially. Soul's Heart electing not to bring a
Twitch,
or
Brava,
a Flores.
anything.
No Bravo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're very, very committed to the sense drop here. That seemingly seems to be their best bet, and they'll go for maybe a flood if required if the plan is not on. Because outside of that, I really don't know if their options are really that expansive. It's pretty limited at the moment.
Sort of Canis is delaying the admin hatch from being opened up as Mr. Punch just shows a little bit of face over towards main stairs. And Daystar right now more than happy to also kind of put that vault presence and also around elevator, because they've still got a hold in server. So they know full well that with a minute remaining, if there's no server control, it may be a back hit. So Daystar are ready for this, even with the drop elevator from Mr. Punch. They're well positioned. Oh, that was a chance for Azuki. Just had a little timing where Mr. Punch turned around. You can see immediately turns his attention towards that vault drop. But it's Bin Bin that falls early to Scatman. And that's down main stairs. He can now offer a bit of help with Mr. Punch. Good clear though from Azuki to go past the Monty. That's Mark falling inside the elevator. Souffle gets rid of I-9. He can't help out. Right now, Mr. Punch has drawn the attention of Azuki and has kept him at bay, but eventually overwhelms him. Azuki does a great job. And he's got this vault area now locked down. The push coming in from main stairs and loading. 3 in the round for Azuki. Pika gets the last one. A very solid hold from Daystar and a really good read.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job to sort of break down that round defensively, expecting the unexpected to an extent, especially when you factor in those bans. They've been able to respond pretty well. I don't think the Soul's Heart attack was particularly poor. Probably just needed a little bit more assistance onto the back push with the Monty. He got left on an island, then some of the other moving parts didn't quite find their mark either. And so it unraveled a little bit for them in that round. Positive start, though, for Daystar. And so now that's their first back-to-back round streak here on Bank. And heading over to second floor, they'll be looking to replicate the success from Soul's Heart, who were successful on both of their attempts for top 4. So 100% defensive win rate for their opposition. They'll be eager to replicate something here. And again, when you consider the bans of the smoke and the Tachanka, outside of basement, those operators are not going to be as influential on the other side. So
yeah,
I think that actually puts Daystar in a very strong position.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, smoke, you can make the argument. You can definitely play it on the other side, certainly on top floor, but Tachanka is really a basement one hit, isn't it? And in the end, you don't take the side anyway. When you're factoring in that you're banning out the smoke Tachanka, you kind of need to then actually put the stock into winning that side down in basement. Gives Daystar a pretty decent leg up. And on the flip side as well for Soul's Heart, no Ace, no Habana means you can't open up Kanto. Whereas those two bands are actually, funnily enough, least effective down below in basement. So you got one team that's tried to give themselves a boost basement and the other team that's trying to give themselves a boost top floor. So it's a big win right now for DAYSTAR in terms of the band mind game. Still got to obviously get the job done. That'd be pretty solidified now. The echo for the late game, Pika will be pretty comfortable over towards that sort of long desk, front desk position. He can rotate square if needed. This would be a pretty locked down top floor for DAYSTAR.
IED active. Sweeping perimeter.
Mr. Punch looking to tap away Util from below on the IQ, and he's potentially going to have an influential role later on in dealing with, most notably, the Echo. And then you can see Souffle proactively playing that over towards lobby at the moment. Hasn't really seen too much on the Repel, I don't think. Mr. Punch satisfied with the info he's found, will now go over towards Square. In the meantime, Scatman below for death marks available, trying to contest this mirror window. And it's absolutely spot on. Bin Bin gets caught flat-footed, and Sol's Heart with the advantage.
Yeah, not a good start for Bin Bin right now. I mean, I thought he was really good in the last series, especially on the second map. Luckily, though, that they don't allow Scatman to run riot on the Deimos, and Hazuki has really stood up in this series because he was maybe quieter than usual in their previous series win. Again, the ability with Kanto closed and no pressure on those repels. You can move around that front desk area cleanly as I9 just walks in, gets two towards stock. It's only Hazuki left. He got another one onto Mark, but they just lost too many bodies too quickly to that quick aggression from I9. And the round is done. And it is I9 that gets the last one. Well, that's the kind of player that he is. I9 can be so flashy. Another big multi-kill from I9 as they take the 8th round. So they win on top floor, where we probably felt like DAYSTAR would be a bit stronger, after DAYSTAR won bottom floor, where they would maybe be a bit more susceptible. And it's a repeat attempt for DAYSTAR.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Site repeats are a rarity these days. I think DAYSTAR probably evaluate that round as being a little unfortunate, and again, not leveraging the clash probably as much as they would have liked. Allowing I9 to freely walk forward and find that double through stock was pretty devastating for them. That really shouldn't be allowed to happen. That's now at least the second that comes to mind for me. Second big moment for I9 in this series. We've had that big, impactful multi-kill that's changed the trajectory of the round. And so with that, I think he's propelled himself to the highest rated on the team so far. The overall structure and the lead up to that for DAYSTAR specifically actually looked quite positive. And so the breakdown there at the end was certainly something that they can tidy up, and hence why they probably elected to go back above to this top board. Again, with the smoke and the Tachanka bands, you have so many really strong tools on this side. You have the mirror for the CEO repel, you have all the traps, you have the Azami you can establish on site as well. You're just going to be super careful of the Deimos down below, which you saw last time. That won't be a reappearance here in round 9. And you still have to be conscious of the U-tool layering from the Capital, which is a tool that has been brought this time.
So back to where we were at the halftime break, all tied up. Just 2 rounds extra added on. And 5 opening kills straight is not ideal if you're DAYSTAR. Sol's Heart have been very dominant in the early stages of these rounds.
Mine primed.
Gotta reload.
Seal has to be so careful if he wants to think about peeking towards stock, considering what's been happening. Mark's going to go old school here. Right side of top square has been opened up. And he'll go left side as well. Honestly, with the double shields, it really could just be use the Capital utility, flush out Janitor, force them back long desk side, go for a plant. There is that utility that's now being laid out. Pushed in through stock as well as Scatman, and it's going to be the attack now set by Soul's Heart. They get another opening kill courtesy of Mr. Punch. Mark going for that plant. Where's the response from Daystar? They do have an Nitro cell, but Azuki's in the hallway. Plant goes down. That should be the round. Let's be honest. That's a plant that can be easily denied from a repel position where I9 is still outside. Need to retake and retake quickly. A double kill from Mr. Punch on the blitz. He's gotten 3 in the round. It's only Bin. He has to push Mark as soon as possible. Mark will give him the benefit, but Mark will get the kill. Soul's Heart take the lead. A wonderful set play on the top floor of Bank.
Yeah, big execute there from Soul's Heart. And they hold it on in the post. It got very chaotic, and I almost thought that there was a moment there where Daystar could actually make it work. Soul's Heart weren't necessarily able to retreat outside of the building, which is typically the most favored position in the post for the attack, but they went about it the difficult way. Able to win those duels. So a 5-4 lead as these teams continue to trade rounds, seemingly in pairs at the moment. Down to basement though. Daystar shut that down really nicely last time, despite the smoke to Chenka bans. And as a replay of the post, it'll be pretty short-lived. Bin almost won that fight. Could have been very intriguing. A 1v1 there would have put him under the pump, but not to be. Yeah, excited to see how basement now develops. Soul's Heart will have a better read as to what this extension will look like from Daystar.
Neither of these two teams have been able to string together 3 rounds in a row, though, so it's been a very tight game. Can Soul's Heart be the first and get themselves a map point position on Daystar's map pick?
Guns ready. Shoot it if you need it. Getting volcanic.
3 players on Soul's Heart with 8 kills now. I9, Mark, and Mr. Punch.
10 seconds
Scatman and DCH have been supporting nicely with a couple of assists to their name.
5 seconds to go.
First time, by the way, that a plant has successfully gone down here on Bank. 9 rounds played. And it's 6 opening kills straight for Soul's Heart. There's real concern right now for Daystar. Fortunately, the scoreboard doesn't look so bad. It's only 4-5, but there are a lot of other factors that are concerning.
Reloading, cover me.
There's still time and still chances to turn it around. And what better site to go to than lockers and CCTV?
Cell identified. That won't have impact, so well sniffed out there by the attack. As they can now progress on their map clear, and I9 slams Souffle, who did not see that coming. Advantage Soul's Heart as I9 continues his rampage. The numbers don't look that impressive. Yes, it's 9-6, but I feel like he's just had so many massive moments in this map.
Yeah, 3 opening kills. He's had 2 multi-kill rounds.
Yeah, like when he's hitting the scoreboard, it's been impactful.
Well, the cost numbers aren't high for Soul's Heart. It's because they're kind of taking turns. Like everyone is having a sort of round where they drop a 3K. And so therefore there's less rounds where you're getting 1 and getting 1 and getting 1. It's kind of like they're just shuffling as to who dominates a particular round. So you're right in terms of we've seen impact, big rounds for Mr. Punch. We saw it last round with the 3K, big rounds for Mark. He had a 3K in the first. Oh, that's not good. Oh, team kill, but fortunately they did get the clearing kill onto Pika. And Mark has kind of somewhat done his job anyway with flaming out server. Now they're just going to deal with the Vulcan canisters. 1 nitrocell from Azuki. And then they go for the plan as Seal creeps up main stairs. This is the big play. And as you said, Scatman watching. And Seal should be pretty much dead here. And he is. And it's going to be 6-4 in favor of Soul's Heart. Bin low on health goes prone up close with the bailiff. I9, who started it all, will finish it off with the round. Cool and calm inside of the shower for I9. 2 map point opportunities for Soul's Heart.
Yeah, they did a lot better that time in deconstructing the extension. They got that snap kill onto Souffle. And yeah, better read overall and execution. Probably should have done a better job on the first attempt given the bans that they outlined, but certainly a good recovery and lessons learned from that first attempt. DAYSTAR backs against the ball, tack timeout. They need to win 2 straight to push OT.
Yeah, pressure on. A little bit tense because it's their map pick as well. But if we're going to be honest, this is a very deserved scoreline for Soul's Heart. They've been far and away better. And DAYSTAR closed and opened around that sort of halftime break really nicely. That was the last time they really had any form of momentum. Harambe just giving some words of encouragement. Again, though, guys, it's the strange one in the sense that following this, which is Consulate, that was where DAYSTAR got the win against Soul's Heart. And to dive a little bit deeper and just to add some extra layer of information regarding that, it was a 4-2 half to Soul's Heart on their defensive half. And then DAYSTAR won 5 straight on the defensive Consulate. So a very defender-sided Consulate. And maybe there's a world in which, as you said, Soul's Heart have kind of gone back to that map and figured out ways in which they can get more attacking rounds, and that be then the difference.
Many bombs as they can.
Obviously, taking the risk by picking it and getting at least, you know, if they can get bank, then the risk, well, certainly becomes worth the reward if they're at least 1-0 up in the series.
All reinforced. All reinforced. Explosive ready. Reinforcing the floor. Reloading.
So the third appearance then of Basement, and it's a must-win for DAYSTAR if they are to stay alive here on Bank. It's their map pick. And look, I clearly came into this series confident in their ability. At the moment, I haven't quite lost faith, but it's shaky at the moment. It's been well played by Soul's Heart, who I think have evolved a little more so over the course of this series and just had a little bit more of an edge in some of the bigger moments. Whereas DAYSTAR just fallen short of the mark. Into this round we go then. Last time out, Souffle got caught in open area. That may be playing on his mind a little bit this round. It's difficult once to strike the balance between finding drones and slowing down this attack, but it's critical that he doesn't die. Drop down is always an option, as Pika himself will rotate. He'll hold firm for now as Soul's Heart begin their progression on that second floor position. The introduction to the clash as well is pretty interesting this round. We haven't seen it on Basement from DAYSTAR yet. Currently deployed over towards blue. Spotted out by Soul's Heart. I wonder if this ends up prompting maybe a back hit from the attack.
I9
slams Souffle, who once again unable to peel down below.
And this is why, look, sometimes you don't always follow the numbers, but I mentioned I9 was the difference last time. He's the difference again this time too. And what did you say before? It's only 9-6. Well, now it's 12-6. He can quickly get out of hand. And it's the entry kills again where he's been so dominant. He went 9-2 in the series last time across the 3 maps.
Hold that thought.
He's 3-0 here.
Pika.
I'm holding it.
I think he's on here for at least one.
Well, he does get I9, and he almost got Mark as well. I'm going to be honest, actually, considering the shots that he landed, he maybe should have got him, and in the end, he falls, only getting I9. And so the advantage remains still with Soul's Heart heading into the last minute of potentially the map. And DAYSTAR cannot hold on. Down main stairs goes Mr. Punch. Another Candela to ring out from Scatman as the plant from Mark seems to be successful. There's just no utility to deny it. It will be successful, but he did give his life for it. 3v3 post plant as Mr. Punch looks to cover up. He's getting some help towards Beepers. 30 seconds left as Soul's Heart are on the verge of stealing this map pick against DAYSTAR. Gun up for Mr. Punch. Back down, trying to keep Bin at bay. As Suzuki's on the kit, will he be successful? It seems as if he's going to snatch it. They completely forgot about the kit. DAYSTAR, stay alive on Bank.
Poor. That is a volatile round if ever you've seen one. I don't know how Daystar have made that one work. Soul's Heart, to be fair, probably a little fortunate to even get the plane. They sent one player down below, laid all the util, everyone else stayed first floor. Mark gets the diffuser down, then dies about 0.1 seconds later. So that was already close enough. And despite having that presence on the first floor, they still weren't able to cover the diffuser effectively. That's a little concerning that in the post plant, they've actually not been able to convert there. They made it very difficult for Daystar to fight back up onto that first floor, and despite that, they still weren't able to hold on in the post plant. Here's the replay package. I9, early slam, Pika, lurked electrical. A little unlucky not to find a second, and P2 fell. And right here, Azuki jumps on the diffuser, and Scatman, who was up on the hatch, got caught. And that was round over. Daystar, they gasp, and they find that pocket of air, but one more required to go to OT.
10 seconds to insertion.
They still haven't solved a couple of things, though. I mean, the plant goes down. I9 got another opening kill. So that streak has continued now to 7 rounds straight.
Locate a bomb.
Sorry, it's 8 rounds straight, which is even worse. But again, as I kind of said, I think when it was like maybe 4-4 or 4-5 or something like that, it's like the scoreboard hasn't maybe reflected a lot of what Soul's Heart have done well in terms of clearly a lot of good dominating rounds. They're hitting a lot of good shots. They're able to win a lot of the gunfights. What Daystar have been able to do, though, is just scrape together some rounds and just stay in. It's a scrap for them. They're kind of playing behind, but if they have this one round where they can maybe pop off, we haven't seen them do that since the opening of the first half. Round, and this map is still alive. Mr. Punch in towards top square. We see the Ossa, not really used that much these days, but back in the old days of Bank, when Ossa first came in, it was a heavy favorite.
So again, it's the same setup here from Soul's Heart with the thermite, but you're right, the introduction of the Ossa here is an old school element. Just the one nitro for denial here from the side of Daystar, and if that isn't effective and the impact from Azuki doesn't land, then maybe there's a world in which Soul's Heart can transition one of those close towards the site. Flames from I9 trying to isolate the clash. Seal under pressure. Does a good job. EMP, but not really the ability to play off that unless he jumps in and goes for the punch. But that's unlikely. There's also holes over towards stock that's preventing this push. Azuki finds one in the meantime. 5-3. Daystar pushing overtime.
They're a good confidence team. They've only had the 2 opening picks, but converted in both of those rounds. We'll see if they can do so here to force overtime. Now, there was the kill back onto Azuki, who's been their best performer, as the logic bomb has been sent out by Scatman. Oh, clear up close, though. It's I9. He's just always made for the big moments. Has he got a read, though, on this play over towards the hallway in Seal? As Souffle's down at front desk, that opens up good spacing now for Soul's Heart and the extra numbers advantage. Peak is now forced to go for the revive, but he falls into the trap as Seal by himself reveals his position. And this will allow for Mark to go for the play inside a CEO. It will be successful. I9 sitting inside a janitor up close. Is Seal ready for this? It seemed as if he was, but I9 is just better in these clutch moments. He was a difference maker once again for Soul's Heart as they take Daystar's map pick and are 1-0 up in this elimination series.
2026 is starting on a very high note. I'm here in Tokyo, Japan for FPS Day X.
We've got the APAC Cup, the 1v1 nows, and of course the grand finals of the Tier 2 North Rebellion, plus stacks of community awards and fashion shows. The Japanese crowd have been unbelievable.
This event as a whole, the location, the people, everyone's been super nice. The food, of course, here in Japan, absolutely amazing. Great to be back for a second time, and yeah, hopefully can make it a third at some point. We really need a major back in Japan, so hopefully we can get that at some point in time.
It's been an absolute privilege to be a part of this event, and certainly can't wait to do more of it in the future.
The view here is absolutely insane here in this amazing tower. We just wrapped up the Rebellion Grand Final, the Tier 2 event here for APAC North. Absolutely banging Grand Final. We were actually, Jake and I, really surprised at the quality of Siege on offer, and very excited to get ready for the Grand Final, which again should be really, really good and highlight some quality APAC Siege. Of course, yesterday, Jake and I casted a really big upset, Soul's Heart taking down Fear X. Didn't anticipate them to win that match, and they got it done in 2, which was really awesome to see from their perspective.
The Japanese crowd have been unreal. I can't wait to see if CAG can deliver for the Japanese fans against Soul's Heart in our APAC Cup Grand Final.
Trust the bomb side, they just keep doing it. I9 for a stopper, and now it's out of blue. And it's time to send it deep for I9.
Oh, the timing.
Straight into the bomb site. He takes a few tattered bullets from Moto. Kali trying to be the hero for CAG when his team needs him. But Didi is the last one standing. And a flawless round is one hell of a way to do it. 3 years since their last appearance on an international stage. And Soul's Heart are champions here in APAC. region has got to offer.
Well, no surprise, another close map between these two teams, guys, going right down to the final round of regulation. That means across the 4 maps that we've seen them played so far back in the upper bracket, 7-5, 7-4, 7-5, 7-5, it's a trend, but it's a trend that is in Seoul's Heart's favor. They keep just finding a way to get the edge over DAYSTAR and puts DAYSTAR now in an awkward position. They need to win the next 2 maps or their time in kickoff comes to an end, and it will not be a repeat international appearance.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel a little less confident in my prediction that DAYSTAR would have what it takes in this series. Seoul's Heart have come out of the gates swinging. Very much a seesaw. Both teams taking quite a while to find even back-to-back rounds. It was up until the 5th round where Seoul's Heart were the first to break that drought, and then heading into their attacks, they were super efficient. The key player really over the course of this map was I9. Walks away 15-7, 3-0 on entry, and despite the costs across the board, as you were mentioning, being actually quite low, I9 leading the charge 67, the others in the 50s, mid-50s, they all pitched in at the right moment and had big impact, and that's kind of what propelled them over the finish line here on Bank.
Well, the last time that a couple of these Seoul's Heart players were able to actually play at an international event, do you want to have a guess, Gus?
Last international event?
Yeah. And I'm talking, you know, your majors and your SIs.
22?
Close. To the Sixth Invitational 2023. So it's been 3 years.
Okay.
You know, I was mentioning, of course, in the Orchid Weibo series for Orchid, it's been 2 years. For I9, also 2 years. Of course, he was on that Fury roster that made SI 24. But 7-5 victory against DAYSTAR sees them 1-0 up and heading to their map pick, which again is a contentious one too. And if you're DAYSTAR and you're Harambe, you're probably not feeling, you know, completely out of it. You did beat Seoul's Heart last time out on Consulate. It was a defensive masterclass really from both teams, and so I think going into that series it'll be a case of 2 things. Kind of number one, we've got to find a way to shut down I9 and just not allow him to get as many opening kills as he obviously has been getting, but also these high impact moments. It happened last series, it's happened again here. You've got to now also, if you're going to something to happen again, it's get a win on Consulate.
Well, let's jump into it then. Consulate, map 2 of this best of 3. Some interesting historical data between these two, but it just feels like maybe Seoul's Heart are the better of the two right here, right now, unless something can change on the side of DAYSTAR. They'll build defense first, and if that other series, as you were mentioning, is anything to go by, well, they should be on the far more favorable side. So the onus will be on them stacking as many rounds as possible here across the first 6.
Yeah, and defense, yeah, being as strong as it was, then that comes with the pressure, funnily enough, right? It's like the catch-22. It's like, well, you probably want to start defense because that's where it was stronger last time. It's a bit more comfortable. But then that's the pressure of, well, you got to get the defensive rounds. And the last time out, DAYSTAR actually started on the attack for this Consulate matchup between these two. They went defense in the second half. And so then that's when they strung together the 5 rounds straight. This time they actually begin this time on defense. And so the bands Ying, Grim, Smoke, and Goyo, pretty similar bands to actually what played out last time. CO meeting the opening site. It's actually identical bands. I'll just say it. They're just the exact same bands.
Yeah. All right, let's jump in.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
7-5 back on bank. Will we see something similar in terms of closeness and competitiveness here on the second? Top floor first. The Tachanka available. DAYSTAR are going to try and leverage that early powerful tool, not only against the CEO plant, which is more unfavorable at the moment in the current meta, but also strong against pushes on the opposing side. Admin across as well. On the side of Seoul's Heart, probably the most notable addition will be the Amos and the ability for Scatman to be able to contest vertically down below, try and provide that additional dimension and try to aid Seoul's Heart as they go for that clear, most likely admin across.
just got to find a way to probably manage the balance between aggression here on the defense for Daystar. So you don't want to allow I9 to be able to infiltrate through the map, find opening picks, create space. But clearly last time between these two teams, this map was very difficult to attack into. So again, all the expectation on Daystar to probably just do what they did last time. They don't have to change up the strategy all that much. But then you say that, and well, what happens if Soul's Heart have clearly counter-stratted? They picked this for a reason. So they've probably put the work in. You'd have to give them the credit and say that's what they've gone and done, and they want to rectify that, give themselves another go at this. It was a close map. It was not like it was a stomp. So they just kind of have to probably fine-tune a few things, understand the way that Daystar like to play this defensively. I tell you what, this round actually ends up being quite important. I don't usually say that for an opening round, but if Soul's Heart win this, there's that confidence. We picked it. We get an attacking round, which is something we couldn't manage last time. And then that just puts the doubt into the minds of Daystar as well. So this is a big opening round. Scatman already half health, but Bin low as well. So a couple of early battles.
Starting shot zone.
Yeah, certainly the case. We approach the midpoint of the round. I9 on the shock drone. I think frontline scout at the moment. Looking for a read and spots a limited amount of information they're in through meeting. In the meantime, exterior hard breach from Mark. That will hit its particular position pretty effectively. And so now an opportunity for Soul's Heart to consolidate. They've done a good job up until this point to take pretty low risk and a lot of this map control. But here's the Tachenka coming into play, stalling out time, making this push now a little more complicated. Scatman down below. Deathmark on to Pika, who does a good job in escaping. In the meantime, Mr. Punch going for plan attempt number 1.
Bin gets the opening kill. This gets trade. And so far, playing out in favor for Daystar. They'll like to play this trade game. Good shot though from Marcus. He recovers the kit. Again, the Shamika launcher proving to be a nuisance. And out in the hallway, they're a little susceptible to the swing. Fortunately, DCH ready for the trade. They cannot just continue to go for this default plant with Azuki still up. 9 in the chamber for the Shamika launcher. Even with I9 covering over towards catering, Nitrocell doesn't work for Souffle. DCH has got to stick this plan, but the Shamika launcher should be able to push him off. I9 to cover. Again, there's that Shamika launcher. There's the down. And there's Soul's Heart that have taken the round at the death. Quite literally at the death. That is a huge round win for Soul's Heart. Sets the tone early on here on the second map. And Gus, I was going to mention it, but there wasn't enough time. It was the exact same lineup composition from Daystar and the same opening site choice as the last time these two teams played. So if you are going to keep everything exactly the same, Soul's Heart are very happy with that.
Yeah. Wow, that was really well played, as you were saying, at the death there by Soul's Heart. And that's a great way to kick off their campaign here on Consulate as we prepare for basement as the follow-up for Daystar.
Even this is exactly the same. So they last time won CO meeting, they then went basement, exact same lineup. Now, in contrast, Soul's Heart did change things up. This time around on CO meeting, they elected to bring the Blackbeard. They brought the Daymar. So they've clearly thought through the strategy. They brought the Bark. Like, they completely changed up their lineup. They didn't bring a single... sorry, they brought one operator, which was the same. The Twitch. That was it. And that was the only single operator that remained the same. Now, last time out, Soul's Heart opted for Glaz, Blitz, Lion, and they... I'm assuming based on that lineup with the Thermite too, they clearly went for the breach play. This time similar, but they don't bring the Glaz. So they're not going to put all their eggs in that breach basket. They'll bring the Deimos. So immediately the Deimos is something that Soul's Heart have identified as a, I mean, no one's surprised, a very strong operator on Consulate, and they're now bringing it this time around.
It's going to be intriguing to see as the match develops if a lack of change or flexibility from Daystar ends up being their downfall. It's top 4 start for this Daystar defense. Pika presented an opportunity on a bit of a golden platter, or silver platter rather, but unfortunately it doesn't quite work out. In the meantime, Mr. Punch will push through. Shotgun from Bin
Oh,
Bin.
Bin Bin.
Holy.
Oh.
I don't know how he's been able to achieve that. That's a massive
Well, I mean, that's
play.
the perfect pinch. And then just dies at yellow stairs, but Mark falls to Pika anyway, who was still just roaming around on the top floor. And I'm with the upside down rappel. Well, this is better from Daystar. So they've brought more of their roam pressure. Soulsart clearly want to switch things up. They want to bring the Deimos. But Daystar, even if it's a similar lineup, I should add, by the way, the one difference, funnily enough, was actually Pika goes onto the Mozzie instead of going onto the Capcan. That was the only change in the lineup that they brought for this second round. And so clearly that also is then probably a change in mindset and philosophy into how they want to play it. Play more into that roam game, challenge Soul's heart. You know they want to be aggressive. They're going to bring the Deimos. Okay, we've clued on to change things up. We know that. That's why they picked it. And it's a good round from Daystar in response. You don't lose these though.
I didn't think so. Does anyone to do it? It's I9. Been very impressive today. There's a lot of time to try and solve this one. But there's information up on the Maestro cam, so... You would imagine this round is over. They're playing very, very deep safe positions at the moment.
What is that?
What is
graphical
going?
bug?
I thought I was seeing things for a second. What was that? It's been a long day.
He's obviously just trying to bait it out again. Good little flick turnaround from Souffle. Now he gets a little deeper. He knows they're obviously playing back over towards security. Just trying to get into an angle. He's got bloody ADHD. He just can't stop moving around. In the end, just walks in towards security. And Daystar do get the second round that they deserve.
Yep, solid work there. Credit to Bin Bin. Massive little multi for him at the opening of the round. Set his team up. It was, to be fair, pretty low percentage. You probably should have gotten pinched there and had no impact in the round, but he hit a swift double. And then the rest of the team able to do their job elsewhere. Here's a replay of that little package. Bang onto Mr. Punch. There's that first shot through the shield, and then the second against the trade attempt. I9 tried his best to problem solve there with a minute to go, but Daystar were very, very disciplined in the 1v3, and they walk away with the round win.
So meeting for the third round. Obviously not a repeat, but going back to the top floor as they soon as possibly could after going and winning out basement rather than going Expo Piano. And they double down on the Mozzie. They probably feel like that roam gameplay might suit them here on Consulate, just the way that maybe Soul's Heart want to play and change their adaptation from last time. So they drop the Thorn, they bring the Mozzie. Worked out well for Pika in the previous round on basement. And he'll just have the license, I imagine, to play off-site and be given the chance to find an early kill or two, offset the attack and disrupt them so they don't get fully set. Funnily enough, though, Soulsart dropped the Deimos this time around in favor of the Dokkaebi, which then in itself actually helps them maybe deal with Pika. So the mind games are beginning here on Consulate.
Minute into this round, low position for I9, and it's a ground taken over towards admin for Mark. It's contested, but only momentarily by Daystar, who will peel all the way back to the objective, and so it leaves that third of the map completely vacant. No threat below, no threat vending. It's very much going to be a case of leaning into the double Nitro and the Tachanka here for Daystar. It should really come down to a 5v5 execute. I'd be pretty shocked if anything transpires here. As both teams want to prepare themselves for the XE.
The only thing would be maybe Pika if he wants to kind of move around yellow stairs and try and do something. But outside of him, I don't think anyone else will make a move if you're looking at it from Daystar's perspective. But even from Pika's perspective, like, if he's going to go first floor, it might be for a Nitro. As Bin actually gets the kill onto Mr. Punch. I9 creeping over towards top spiral and just catches out Seal, not really watching. Man, that's a strange angle for Seal to be holding. His job there is to deny the long desk position. Watch top spiral. Watch vending. Watch anything but whatever he was watching. That's opened up a lot of space now for Soul's Heart. Even without the black beard, you probably don't even need it right now.
Deep drone as well. 5 below. Pika wins out. 30 seconds on the clock. Still double Nitro up here for Daystar. This makes it tricky for Soul's Heart to go for the plant.
Yeah, and 1 below now because Pika not only gets that kill, but he's got first floor pressure with the Nitro cell. Actually just used it. And there is a Nitro though from Souffle that does connect. 2 versus 1. Scatman's got 10 seconds to try and win this one. Headshot onto Souffle. Gets onto that kit immediately. Pika running, sprinting up spiral stairs. Scatman will get a small chance, a very small window, and he hits it quite literally through the window. Oh, that is such quick reaction from Scatman, and he is stone cold in the face. Maybe a very small wry smile. Big clutch for Soul's Heart as they secure another attacking round. Again, guys, they didn't get a single attack last time against Daystar.
No. They've already reached a very, very critical benchmark in the 2 rounds. This has been a strong start for them. Wow. I think Daystar will be starting to feel the pressure building. Yeah, timeout early. So Harambe agrees. It's time to lock in. It's do or die from this point. The next few rounds are absolutely critical for their chance at making the major or continuing their run towards the major.
Yeah, and they've done a lot right too, in the sense that they've adapted. I mean, the first round clearly just went straight back to the strat book of what they did last time and got a little bit of a surprise wake-up call. Cool. Responded in basement. Cool. Changed it up again in the 3rd round. They put Pika on the Mozzie, and his late flank first floor actually was successful. Got the kill, then was able to play the Nitro from below. So again, a lot went right. They've also gotten 3 opening kills straight from Bin. So that's 3 straight advantages early in the rounds for Daystar on defense Consulate, which last time out, they got 5 straight round wins against this team in Soul's Heart. Obviously, there's got to be then concerns, hence why the timeout's been called by Harambe. Well, watch it back here. This moment here, though, guys, yeah, I mean, Seal has just left the back door open.
Yeah. Scatman, though, still had some hard work ahead of him.
Oh.
It's a big sharp shot at the end. Tell you what, that was, yeah, a tough pill to swallow for Daystar. I think good opportunity for attack timeout to be taken. Not even really from a strategic standpoint, but I think more so just being able to refocus the team after that disappointing round. And looking forward to the rest of the half. Speaking of Dockerby and the Mozzie will be banned up. Mozzie's certainly a left of field ban, but clearly one that Soul's Heart had identified as being important. And it's top floor again.
Yeah, so this is the most significant change up that they've made, though. They bring the Azami and the Mute. It's going to be ultra lockdown. Maybe not wanting to play as much into the roam. And I like the Azami into the Monty. I mean, I think that the Monty selection here is an intriguing choice from Soul's Heart. They've been playing Blackbeard predominantly. They brought the Blitz in the 2nd round as well. So now they flex the Monty for the first time. And they did try Monty last time out on this site when they met previously on Consulate, and they did lose that round pretty convincingly. So I do have a slight worry for Soul's Heart that maybe the Monty's going to slow them down, coupled with the fact that DAYSTAR are bringing the Azami, the Mute. They're going to play largely sight. They're not going to give them an opportunity by having someone flank and roam first floor. Keen to see how this one plays out in the 4th round, out of the tactical timeout for DAYSTAR. Bin 3 from 3 in terms of opening kills. We'll see if he can make it 4 straight.
So admin across. And DCH is the one to lurk below Scatman, also on 1st floor. So they may look to do some kind of link up here, or Scatman at least in the position of flank watch if DAYSTAR sends somebody maybe down below to contest this buck eventually. In the meantime, though, the defense fully positioned up above on the 2nd floor. DCH spots one. Doesn't want to give away his position though, and so trigger discipline. Now though, shots fired and he wins the fight onto Bin Bin.
Well, I mean, 4 from 4. Just in the wrong side of it this time for Bin Bin. That's a big opportunity now heading into the final minute of this 4th round for Soul's Heart. DAYSTAR out of the timeout. Well, now they are up against it here. Soul's Heart proving more than capable of getting the attack grounds and justifying this map selection. And DCH creating so much pressure from below. And because DAYSTAR opted to play full sight and again not have that Mozzie go down and flank, there's no pressure on DCH at all. He gets to play for free. And the Monty, by getting that kill into Bin Bin, can now push out into meeting, creating some really good space opportunities for the plant later in the round for Mark. That Shamika launch is running low on ammo as well. 20 seconds as Mr. Punch just goes deeper and deeper, and DAYSTAR just look absolutely in a world of hurt. Soul's Heart do lose 2 though. Can Mark get this plant down? Nitrous are thrown, blown, doesn't get anything. Plant will be successful. Mr. Punch on 1 HP, but that is still shield up. Seal needs to go big. In a 1 versus 2, hits the kill onto Scatman and onto Mr. Punch's Seal clutches up massively. That could be match defining for DAYSTAR.
Holy moly, what a clutch. Everyone was so low in the post for Soul's Heart. And despite showing really, really good grit and determination to push through, they leveraged the Monty nicely to get the plant down. It looked like it was going all the way of Soul's Heart. DAYSTAR were chipping away in the background, and it was Steel to get that job done. He's been on fire today, and a good demonstration of his skill here in round number 4. It looks so good at this point for Soul's Heart. But then Scatman and Mr. Punch were so low on HP. Seal had a read, able to convert quad in the round.
Protect your bombs from being defused by
And
attackers.
2-2 the scoreline.
Bomb located by attackers.
Well, that's what they're fighting for. Salt Lake City Major. And while, of course, you don't qualify off this game, you will qualify off the next one if you can win this. I mean, 1 round is never going to definitively decide a map, guys, but I think we can both agree. If Soul's Heart get that 3rd attacking round, then and there, in that fashion, and almost looking quite dominant in doing so,
5 seconds left.
you could probably say at that point it's looking very difficult for DAYSTAR, but Seal clutches up. It's a whole different story. It's all tied. They win the next 2 rounds, and a 4-2 half doesn't look so bad in the grand scheme of things.
A disappointing round then for Soul's Heart, but I think they'll still have the confidence flowing. That in general play, in general scenarios, they are doing a good job. I think particularly playing around the Monty, and well, they'll have that tool available still for the next 2 rounds. As we head over to Expo for the 5th, and Mr. Punch will start his march over towards Visa side of the map, diffuse above in the hands of Mark. Elsewhere, soft breaching play from DCH, so once they get top floor control, they can get to work flushing out the objective, and I'll Scatman and will continue his play on the Deimos. It's been a bit of a staple so far here in the first half, played on 3 occasions, this being the 3rd. And it's been Scatman every single time. He'll like basement at the moment. It's a 4-1 split from the defense. Pika first fall, the rest of Daystar up above.
It's been a strength of theirs, really, in this half as well for Daystar, just getting these early picks. Didn't do it in the last round, funnily enough, though they won it. In fact, though, the early picks haven't mattered in this game so far. 3 of the 4 rounds, they haven't even been converted. It's this next kill, I think, that's actually even more important. And Bibbin so close, trying as hard as he can over towards long desk. And Seal gets pressured from below. Back onto the Deimos for Soul's Heart and Scatman. Up close, Bin got to win this, and he does. Holds his composure. Now getting death mark, very low on health, will just sprint on out, gives up the long desk position. Hold on, a lot of time left in this round for Soul's Heart. Could be on the verge of giving 2 rounds straight over to Daystar. And with that kill from Bin onto Mr. Punch, the Monty falls. And it seems as if Daystar maybe has been able to avert a crisis. They could have been 3-1 down. Now they might be 3-2 up.
Yeah, this round has unraveled. 15 seconds on the clock, and a chance of victory here is very minuscule. They'll charge forward. 10 seconds. Still clearing sight. Scatman falls. Unfortunately for Mark, he follows close by. Good work from Pika. Good work from Daystar. And there's still another twist in this one as they take the lead.
Yeah, and it's 2 straight rounds now since the timeout that was called by Harambe. And even though they almost lost round 4, almost don't matter. It's either win or lose, and they won. And now they're 3-2 up going into the final round of the half. Basement comes calling, and Soul's Heart felt like they were looking on pretty good track to get more than 2 attacking rounds. They might have to just settle for that. And look, it still ultimately might be enough. Or at the very least enough to get them into a position where 4-2 themselves in the second half. It gets overtime. So by no means would a 4-2 half for Daystar put them in a commanding lead, as a 4-2 lead may suggest. It would just kind of be job done, especially after giving up a 2-1 lead. Still think a 3-3 half for Soul's Heart actually does put them in a pretty good position going into the second half. So still a big round here in the 6th round. You see the visual for the first time that gets played here on Consulate as Pika's 8-3, doing as best as he can. The numbers across the series, though, are kind of interesting because it's 19-11 for I9, and then after that, it's kind of around the 10 and 12 mark for Scatman, Mark, and TCH. And look at Daystar, though. The Pika, Seal, and Azuki are all around that kind of 16 kill margin. So somewhat reflecting that I9's brilliance is really holding up Soul's Heart. But then if he falls a little bit away, well, Daystar have got the numbers there to take advantage and maybe get back into this series.
Time to make a new play.
So a 3-2 split from defense this time out. Interestingly, Pika on the Vigil is the one actually inside of Garage currently, as opposed to aggressing offsite. Bravo getting to work on the objective. The Clutch Drone hacking that Maestro information, and that could make things a little spicy. Especially late round, if that's not factored in, that could be to the detriment of the defense. And the only impacts near the... Well, there aren't no impacts near the objective. The only impacts actually still on the board to maybe deal with that is Seal elsewhere.
Got it.
I think that one's been, caught as well. This has been
I mean,
really
he got
good
the
for
cam,
I9.
but they've lost Scatman. We're trading cameras for players, and I think you'd be happy if
trade dynamic.
if you're Daystar. I think they'd rather be 5 versus 4 up. and lose a couple of cams. I mean, absolutely dominated the opening kills in this half. Have DAYSTAR 5-1. I mean, that is a very dominant figure. And despite that, though, a 5-1 opening kill half, but 3 plants successfully for Soul's Heart as well. Well, there's a big battle. Pika and Mr. Punch. Mr. Punch falls back, and Pika may be thinking he's gone a little bit too deep and maybe in a little bit too much of the enemy territory. And yeah, indeed, he had the right suspicion that he was getting lured into a trap. I think he realized it just ever so slightly too late, but you could almost see it in even just the character model. It was like, hang on, I've gone way too deep here. And now Soul's Heart have flipped it.
40 seconds. Shield play. This is funny to watch, and it doesn't work out. Wow, it's completely capitulated at the end there. DAYSTAR take the round as we enter the roll swap timeout.
Remember when you told me you believe in something and you said you're done pretending that fate is patient. Go run away, get it out of your system. Come back when you're older. Go find a place where you can't be the victim. And come back when you're older. Go catch the storm within your broken bones. And be wild, 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 wild. Summer's end, and you feel that this is your beginning. Will colors fade, but it's okay. There is good in changes. Go run away, get it out of your system. Come back when you're older. Go find a place where you can't be the victim. And come back when you're older.
So a 4-2 half for DAYSTAR, but a very entertaining half, Guz, as we saw quite a lot of intriguing rounds and back and forth within the rounds. Rounds that maybe Soul's Heart had advantages in, or DAYSTAR had advantages in, and at times neither maybe being able to capitalize upon said advantages. Again, a 5-1 opening kill metric in favor of DAYSTAR really kind of set them up for success. Yeah, it didn't convert on all of them, but it just always gave them the best possibility within the rounds. Soul's Heart clearly still having some issues on the attack, but at least this time they were able to get 2 rounds versus 0.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think we walk away from that half and it feels pretty even at the moment. I think there's positives to be taken away for both sides. I think the question, though, for me immediately is what do DAYSTAR have to offer on attack? Because it's all well and good to have the lead heading into the half, but if you have the same teething issues and struggle here, maybe only claim, let's say, the one attacking round, well, obviously that's not going to be enough to, at minimum, push OT. So
and defuse bombs.
still plenty of hard work ahead of them. We go top floor, straight off the rip. Bans Warden, Solace, Grim, and Ying. Frees up the Tachanka and Smoke, both critical on this top floor site. You throw in the Goyo as well, and time management will be absolutely critical for DAYSTAR.
And what it does, you know, I kind of mentioned before, going into the first half, the pressure probably of having to be the team on defense to, you know, get the results, because last time it was so defender-sided between these two teams. Well, you're in a position now for Soul's Heart where you're 4-2 down. and now you're the one that has to actually be very clean on defense. And Daystar, at least for maybe the first 2 rounds, kind of get a bit of a free swing. If it gets to like 4-4 and Daystar are clearly struggling to attack, well, then maybe the pressure relieves a little bit. I mean, Solid at least have the first map in the bank anyway. No pun intended.
Ready, set, Banshee deployed.
Yeah, I wonder how aggressive Soul's Heart are wanting to contest this half of the map. Especially when you're leaning into heavy plant denial utility. The more time you do waste here, the more effective that ends up being. And there's every one in which Daystar do get stalled out. So I don't mind this from them. But you have to be careful that you don't fall too easily. I9 does just that. Gives the early advantage to Daystar, and well, Mark's calling for help because he's going to be under pressure in a moment's time as well.
Yeah, and that's going to be a real big concern if it ends up being a situation that Daystar continue to keep getting these open kills, even going on to the attack. It's one thing if it's on defense, maybe you can kind of do the same thing, replicate it. Mark just caught though up on the counter bench. Has been having a really good game on Consulate. This is a wonderful start to the half for Daystar. I wonder if this might force a timeout from Solasar. 5-2 down if they lose this, and it seems as if they will. Absolutely just torn apart. They were 2-1 up, and now find themselves 2-5 down. It's going to be 4 straight rounds for Daystar. Well, that's one way to make a statement to begin the second half.
Yeah, it sure is. Statement made. Good map clear, punished Soul's Heart for the over-aggress early, and then swiftly converted. It really did then detract from a lot of that area denial and late round play that I think Soul's Heart ultimately were aiming for. So good identification there from Daystar, and a great way to kickstart their half as we look back at the replay package. He'd already fallen at this point. Mark then gets caught, awkward timing. Rest of the defense trying to aggress, and nothing is really going their way in terms of gunfights. At least not in that opening defense. Flawless for Daystar.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs.
I don't want to go too soon, but maybe I do back in my original prediction here. Daystar have at least gotten off to a good start here in the second half, but it can definitely be a grind. So it's just about taking one round at a time.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Deploying jammer.
Well, Lair waits after this if required. If Daystar can continue this onslaught on Consulate. Solsat won that one last time, 7-5. It doesn't really change too much. It's still going to be a difficult map. But a 3-round advantage now puts Soul's Heart in a position where they need to be very, very strong on the defense. Just starting to see, though, at least here on Consulate, compared to Bank, a lot more multi-kills, too, coming from Daystar. Pika, Seal, Bin have all had a multi-kill round. None of them got any over on Bank. There's finally an opening kill for Soul's Heart. Shots down Pika, who was running rampant, 10-4. He started to really get going as this map of Consulate has progressed. Mark was 1-7 prior to that kill. Solsat might just find a little bit of comfort now with less attackers available as DCH going to open up an angle towards the window. Actually almost found inadvertently a kill onto Azuki.
So 2 minutes remaining on the clock, and this round not looking quite as convincing as the last one for the attack of Daystar. Soul's Heart have done a better job, I think, in consolidating a bit of this map control. And they'll start peeling back over towards this console side of the map. Can Daystar cut off? That's the question. It seems like they are in closing. Big fight for Mark. Is he aware? Hard right for Bin. Flushed out. Mark wins it. Wow, that's a sharp shot. And Soul's Heart should now go on to convert this round.
Well, we say should, doesn't mean they will. Marcus low, drops in towards Piano. I definitely agree with the should sentiment, but DAYSTAR have been playing. They just don't give up on any of these rounds. They've been better in the clutch. They've had higher chances of individuals finding multiple kills. Still a bit of time as well for them to work this out. Capital utility available. And interesting, still a lot of that first floor presence for Soul's Heart. DAYSTAR need to start moving quickly though. They cannot allow this to play late into the round when you're down a player. Desperate to find the next kill, but it's going to be the next death instead as Seal goes down. At the same moment, so does Suzuki. Suzuki by himself. Certainly no chance in this round. And finally, Soul's Heart will stop the streak. It was 4 straight rounds to DAYSTAR. But Soul's Heart have finally got back into the winner's seat.
Yeah, it's taken a little while, but finally that streak has been broken. It was, 4 in a row. And a 5th would have given DAYSTAR the map point. Better work there, though, around the map from Soul's Heart. Mark able to win that opening duel, and then as he peeled back, was able to double that count. DAYSTAR struggling to catch that defense on the peel back towards the objective. And again, what I mentioned before, sure, second floor, great attack, but the rest of the half could still be a difficult grind in terms of being able to find these round wins. We'll see how they fare on the next objective as we head over to Expo. And we'll see a pretty trap-heavy lineup here from Soul's Heart. Again, they're going to actually bring the Tachanka and Smoke combination. I wonder how they're going to look to employ that. Could be strong plant denial potential against anything like a bench plant, for instance. We do see DAYSTAR initially bringing the Ace, which can sometimes indicate a little bit more of a direct approach. I feel like we haven't seen one of those attacks for a little while, so it would be a pretty big call for DAYSTAR to make that here. Round 9 in what is another key round, but it's certainly a possibility.
Double-digit kills for Bigger and Seal. Bin not far behind with 9. Flexes back onto the Blackbeard that we saw from him in the opening round on CO meeting. First time seeing this first floor Expo Piano. There's the punch, very low, and just 1 and 8. $39 EPS for Mr. Punch so far. His role really now just needs to be sit back and when we call for your gas babes, throw them out. That's your job.
Yeah. Certainly so. Needs to be low risk. Util will be critical late round. In the meantime, though, DAYSTAR beginning to enclose on the top floor. Still 4 members of this defense on said top floor. Soul's Heart won't want to forfeit this too freely. They want to lean into the vert for the plant denial. Maybe trying to force that more direct style from DAYSTAR, but I don't really think that is going to be the end goal. Minute 20. Pika goes searching.
DAYSTAR are keeping this rather composed, hoping that Soul's Heart will make a mistake. They're playing on this second floor, so at some point you imagine they're going to want to retreat. Can we catch them while they're retreating? Bin will push up. If not mine, just blocks a bit of the vision, forces him to shoot that out. Flames for I9. Ironic onto the Tachanka. Seal's going to walk back out, and more flames onto I9 as well. And this has now allowed Azuki to go for the plant inside of Expo. He's just gone completely unnoticed. No one's going to be able to stop him. Plant will be successful. Mr. Punch was able to get the kill, but he lost another teammate. It's only he and Scatman that remain up for Soul's Heart, as DAYSTAR now on the verge of securing 3 map points. Barring a big clutch, which is not going to come from Mr. Punch. Scatman in a 1v3 with the time expiring. Lovely headshot onto Pika, but so much more work needs to be done with both players up above. And with the floorboard showing his position, DAYSTAR have got a 6-3 lead on Consulate.
Yeah, they bite back. Really, really clean work there. Soul's Heart. Their win cons and their win opportunities in that round, they eroded pretty quickly. DAYSTAR did a good job to snap into action when they found that particular trigger point on the top floor. And then the beauty of being able to exploit that was once plant goes down, they can use the very vert intended to deny it to then play in the post. So good work from DAYSTAR. 3 opportunities to close this one out in regulation. It feels like Lair might be calling. In a last-ditch attempt to keep this map alive, though, Soul's Heart will call their attack timeout.
Yeah, is it a little too late, though? That's the thing. I mean, the beauty of winning out on Bank means that they had, you know, at least a bit of breathing room coming into Consulate, but they chose this map. They thought that they could perform a little bit better than last time. Well, so far as it seems, it's actually proving to be a little bit worse than last time. Harambe looks pretty composed. It's just the probably the words of, all right, you guys are doing well, just focus on this. Not showing too much emotion. Look, I'm not a lip reader, but I'm pretty sure it's just a bunch of, at the end, let's go, come on, you got this sort of chat there from Harambe as they end the tactical timeout for Soul's Heart. Of course, Harambe does get to talk as well to DAYSTAR, and yeah, look, I mean, it's been DAYSTAR's map well and truly. All of the numbers suggest it. And funnily enough, if this were to end 7-3, it'd be the most one-sided map between these two teams across the 2 series played here in Kickoff, and
Defenders protect
really throws a spanner in the works going into Lair. But Soul's Heart on defense certainly had the capabilities out of the timeout to go on a run. I absolutely wouldn't discount them from being able to still force overtime from this position. And as it stands, must now be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like DAYSTAR have just been able to find something here in this this second map, and making things very interesting. It's going to be a long day for them. Soul's Heart, can they show a little bit of fight? Top floor, good opportunity to respond to and keep this DAYSTAR attack honest. Speaking of the attack, we're going to see the Brava deployed once more. That'll be good counterplay into the Malusi. And the double BPC on offer here from defense. The lineup here, there is maybe an off chance that they go for something more direct with the Thatcher that they can play on the exterior, but probably a bit of a long shot at this point. Map clear should be the name of the game.
Detected an enemy device. Drone active.
So with the Capital no longer available for CO meeting, which is where DAYSTAR won out back in the 7th round, they bring the Brava instead. Minute gone by so far, not a lot really has transpired except for Bin Bin in through copy. Nine showing a little aggression here towards the bottom of server stairs, and actually he's going for a bit of a walkabout. Bin Bin takes a big chunk of damage. 9 now in towards lobby. I mean, for I9's standards, he's been a little quiet so far on Consulate, maybe keen to get noisy.
Maybe. As DAYSTAR continue to chip away at this map control and try to set themselves up for a map-winning play. Bin Bin's taken a chunk of damage, but has critically valued his life. Soul's Heart now will start to deploy this denial utility. First gas bathe from Mr. Punch. Pretty shallow though, over towards Vendi. Maybe in early anticipation of that push through, but for now, Daystar will be patient. More smokes now to be layered. A Bin Bin gets caught. Good start for Soul's Heart. 40 seconds now on the clock as Daystar enter recovery mode.
They do recover very quickly as Seal then catches I9 trying to push back up server stairs. No impact from the Soul's Heart superstar. DCH got one, but Souffle was in a good position towards default. He'll get pushed out by that gas babe. That was the last one that Mr. Punch had. So default now a plantable position. If Daystar want that, Souffle will go for the plant. Pika can then hold the cover. And that's the way that it's going to be set up heading into the last 10 seconds of this round. There's nothing that they've got to be able to deny this from distance. And so Pika is set up perfectly and Daystar will take the map of Consulate. They do it for the second time straight against Soul's Heart, who will now be questioning their decision to choose that map. It all comes down to Lair. One more map to decide these two teams.
動き出す窓の外眺めて遠くで揺れる光同じ先見つめ、yeah、 心はもうきっと気づいてる君じゃなきゃ意味ないありきたりかな口ずさむラブソング唇に Your eyes tell me everything I need Your smile笑い合えたら宝物だね約束なんて時代遅れと笑うけど僕ららしくていい離さないと誓うよ先読みなんてもう終わりにして僕の手を握って少し切ないそれもまた風情な胸味 Your eyes tell me everything I need Your smile笑い合えたら宝物だね溶けてく夜明けにこれが最後の願いね Let's go! レオンの絡む肌踊る影揺れるステップ流されるままにはにかむ横顔に遠くで響く鼓動探すほど見失い溶けてく夜明けにこれが最後の願いね嘘でもいいからみんなないものねだりね Let's go! 寂しげな言葉をつぶやく唇を音色と混ぜ合わせて消えてく人の波預ける指先に儚く揺れる光溶けてく夜明けにこれが最後の願いね嘘でもいいからみんなないものねだりね失われた声街に飲まれて霞んでいく笑顔遠くになる瞳曖昧な距離さえ甘くてほんの少しでもこの夜に酔わせて溶けてく夜明けにこれが最後の願いね嘘でもいいからみんなないものねだりね嘘で
They are the best that this region has got to offer.
So all 3 maps required in this lower bracket semi-final, as DAYSTAR and Soul's Heart could not be separated, each taking each other's map pick, guys. Soul's Heart thinking that they could rectify what happened last time at Consulate. Well, the matter of the fact is it actually got worse.
yeah, they're in for a bit of a rude awakening over the course of this series. Look, I think there were certainly moments of competitiveness shared between the two, but it was pretty short-lived. DAYSTAR overall having the edge. There wasn't overall in every facet of the game. I think most notably, Soul's Heart actually got the opening kill in the last 3 rounds. Only converted 1 of those opportunities, but then Soul's Heart across the board, more well-rounded. Seal, Pika, Bin, absolutely popping off on cons, 15, 12, 11 respectively. Those guys were hard hitting, and unfortunately Soul's Heart didn't have that same depth on their side. It proved costly, and as you can kind of see, I don't have to spell it out to you, the numbers on the page reflect it. It ultimately ended up being pretty one-sided, and that has rekindled my faith that DAYSTAR could go on and win this series.
Yeah, it certainly has rekindled it, but again, as I was probably thinking coming into Consulate that I wouldn't count DAYSTAR out, I'm certainly not counting out either team going into the last map. I think this is the genuine 50-50 heading into Lair, and no better reference point was the last time when they played it being a 7-5, right? There's every world in which this could go OT. Hard to split them, but the matter of the fact is, one of them, their time in kickoff, will come to an end at the conclusion of Lair. For the other, they progress to an all-important lower final next week against Orchid for a potential spot at the major. Let's be honest, both of these 2 teams could probably beat Orchid. I'm not saying that they would go in as favorites, guys, but DAYSTAR or Soul's Heart, you wouldn't be surprised to see either of these 2 at the major. The reality is that one of them definitely can't go.
No, I certainly agree. It's going to be bitterly disappointing for the teams that do eventually go on and miss out, and no exception will be the team that loses out of this one. As we jump in, DAYSTAR defense for Lair. I don't want to get quoted, but I'm fairly certain that given they've had the round differential advantage, that has been their selection of choice, and that makes perfect sense for a map like Lair. And the band's played out as Grim, Cap, Tachenka, and Bandit.
So DAYSTAR will begin on defense. So looking at some of the numbers from last time out, which, I mean, I guess in some ways, what we saw from Consulate last time ended up painting a pretty similar picture in terms of lineup composition, and even almost the same result, 7-4 last time, 7-3 this time. So on Lair, it was 7-5. It was the defense of DAYSTAR that probably let them down a little bit. It was a 3-3 first half, and that kind of opened the door then for Soul's Heart, and they ended up getting, in their second half on defense, 3 straight. So they took a 6-3 lead. DAYSTAR kind of brought it back to 6-5, and then unfortunately I9 did I9 things in the last round. So for me, it's, DAYSTAR, what have they learned from last time on Lair? What can they do a little bit differently? Yeah, Master and R6, probably you won't want to change up, you would imagine, all too much, but based on the bans, taking away the Tachenka, they don't have access to that now. They had access to it last time. So last time the bans from Soul's Heart, or at least the first 2, were the Bandit and the Smoke. So you're kind of replacing the Tachenka for the Smoke, so Bin will play that role. And it was on this site where they had actually the most issues, guys. The Master and R6 play, DAYSTAR actually didn't win it once on these.
Changing max.
Swapping.
Let's lock in then for this first round. I think Soul's Heart will be particularly eager to leverage the Glaz in this round. We know how powerful he can be at times. When you think about the positions that he's able to exploit, whether that be more so late round for the plant coverage, or even the immediate control over towards ops, it's pretty versatile. They want as well not to be discounted, and DCH will start his march through warehouse, or pardon me, through blue stairs rather than up through armory. And then he'll be quite critical late round in contesting some of the anchor points here from the defense. Daystar, interestingly, don't elect to bring the Azami despite being available. We know she's pretty popular on this site. I'm also relying on the hard breach denial with the Kaid and Tuber available. Zuki with a bit of a grin, pretty pleased with how the start of this round has played out, making this hard breach a challenge for Soul's Heart. Oh, they just send it.
Ooh.
Okay.
Missed the punch though, ready for it. Catman getting rid of Seal, and more concern for Daystar on this top floor. Again, last time not winning it once, which typically it should be the other way around, and not losing it once if you really want to have success defensively on Lair. Leaves Suzuki in a tough position. They've just been absolutely torn to shreds. This is a bad start for Daystar. This is not what you want. At least it's not flawless, but in the grand scheme of things, that's irrelevant. It means nothing. Whether it's 4 alive or 5 alive, it's Soul's Heart that do to Daystar what they did last time on this map, and they absolutely decimate them on Master and R6.
Yeah, that was a pretty wild round. It really did feel like Daystar had a strong advantage at the beginning. Good combo of the Tuber and the Kaid main breach. They had that under control, but unfortunately they kind of left their backside exposed, and Soul's Heart didn't hesitate. They marched forward, charged through Mez, and then Daystar couldn't play catch up over the course of that round. So a disappointing start to their defense. Basement has clearly been their second choice, and we'll head there now.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
It's a lot of deja vu in this series. Like, it's actually, I feel very fortunate that we're able to kind of reference back the series that played out last time between them. Obviously, Bank wasn't in that series, but it being a 7-5 in this one today matches what happened last time. Clearly, there's not a lot of difference between the two teams. But it just seems like, based on that series and kind of where we're at here, Soul's Heart do kind of have the edge, with the Consulate map being the one separating factor.
10 seconds to insert.
Basement last time was much better, at least for Daystar, where they were able to win it successfully both attempts. But
Attackers are heading out.
yeah, they very much struggled in the opening kill department on the map of Lair, which is in contrast to Consulate. So for whatever reason, Consulate is just a really good map for Daystar. They get the opening kills. They're pretty good when it comes to defense. They can certainly get the attacking rounds. But on Bank, all the opening kills, Soul's Heart. And last time on Lair, all the opening kills, Soul's Heart. It has to change quickly for Daystar. Firstly, you got to win this site, because if you lose this site, well, then the confidence is going in the bin, because then you're not even getting the one thing that you actually got successfully to work for you last time.
Yeah, we tend to agree. We'll see how they look to play out this round. It's looking like a pretty simple 4-1 split. The single over towards blue stairs. This is pretty old school on this site, but it's quite reliable and relatively low risk, and shouldn't leave maybe the big holes to exploit that we kind of saw last time out on that top floor. Early contest over towards Warehouse, but with the Goyo in support, Daystar are able to chip away at that, and it's likely going to force a pivot from this attacking pattern. Mr. Puncher will make his way over towards Breach. And this blue stairs hold now revealed, so I9 can relay that. Although there's not really a ton that Soul's Heart can directly do about that at the moment. Azuki will likely go pretty uncontested, at least at this portion of the round. Elsewhere, Pika has been targeted by the Death Mark on the Deimos. He's playing very, very aggressive inside of Warehouse, and Soul's Heart are trying to hunt him down.
Mr. Punch might just lose his patience here and go for a swing. Never mind. Oh, Pico, the one who pushed forward. Good trade from Mark to keep this a contest for Soul's Heart, but Daystar now with the advantage.
Reloading.
Still 3 gas babes available as well for Azuki. Razor Bloom shell placed by Bin Bin late in the round 2. May get missed by Soul's Heart. I9 desperately searching from above, but he's eventually going to have to push his way down yellow stairs. Death marks are available for Scoutman, opting not to use them right now. Doesn't want to probably reveal his own position towards Missile. Together with I9, he's activated the radar. Triple ping on the Bin Souffle and Seal. Frag grenade thrown out. The Scoutman pushes forward into that Razor Balloon that was placed late by Bin. Heart coming through lockers. Big kill from I9. He got the second one as well. Scoutman just got the front row view of what I9 can do best, but he needs 2 more. Can't get that one onto Azuki, and Daystar do solidify the second round.
Yeah, better there from Daystar. I love that initial hold over towards Warehouse. It was pretty aggressive, and there was almost an opportunity for Souls Heart to actually break it down quite cleanly, but yeah, some big moments there from Daystar. Able to hit some key fights and some key shots. Those landed, decided to break things down. The second wave of the attack wasn't all that bad either, though, from Souls Heart. Mr. Punch got slammed. Pika did a phenomenal job over towards Warehouse to find kills, or find that kill, but also value his life. As I mentioned, the second wave was still pretty deadly, but the back line, well fortified by Daystar. They go on to win that round. It's bunks to follow. And early signs pointing towards this being a very, very close Lair.
I mean, the issue is top floor. I mean, you're just then giving too many rounds over to Souls Heart that they probably shouldn't be getting. It's kind of an intriguing development, really, for Daystar on this map, how they are just so susceptible on what is the strongest site defensively. Otherwise, if they had actually worked out Master and R6, well, that might be the difference. You lose that last time 7-5. That's the only site you've got to just flip back around another way, and you probably win the map. It has to happen. They obviously don't seem confident. If they're going bunks and briefing over Master and R6, there's a lack of confidence there in the team about their ability to win that site. Now, they might want to just wait until they can get an extra ban. What that may be, I'm not too sure. Do you take away the Glaz? Do you take away the Deimos? The Deimos is going to be more utilized across all 3 sites. The Glaz may be, though, a strength, at least on Master and R6. So that's where it's going to be interesting. So therefore, I don't hate the idea of just going bunks briefing now. We get an extra ban in. Yes, we'll lose one. Maybe, I would imagine, the smoke.
Push forward.
This round really should be determined by the final 45 seconds if Souls Heart can get themselves in an execute position. Although Daystar seemingly are eager to maybe disrupt that. Some teams do opt to have a single anchor down below on the objective, but Daystar go for the opposite approach. All 5 members second floor, they'll fully invest in being able to deny the plant attempt from above. They do have the Solace, and so Seal has a very critical job here in making sure that they know if and when the plant goes down. Oh, the Deathmark attempt there, but goes astray. And maybe try to keep this Solace at bay. As Seal plays a very safe position at the moment. He's prompted to drop. Since Util deployed, and Souls Heart will, in a moment's time, start thinking about this plan.
60 seconds left. RUs go out. Still no real contact, and that's typically unlike this series. Souffle cooking up here. He's got double Griswold mines for the double push-off. Spots the Monty walking through. Maybe has lost him in the smoke, though. Mr. Punch just kept on going. Mr. Punch getting tagged up. He's going to commit to it, but it's the Nitro Cell from Mizuki that is able to connect. Opening kill for Daystar. Rush through the smoke, but well-placed is Pika. The rush through is so far unsuccessful for Souls Heart. I mean, they've just absolutely played into the strength of the operators that they have, especially with the Solus, the utility that was still remaining. And Souls Heart just kind of went for it and hoped that maybe the Sens ROUs would work out. Just don't see a way back into this round for Scoutman and DCH, as Daystar will take the lead now on Lair. But what comes next is the big round, because they're going Master and R6. the site that they've still not been able to beat Soul's Heart on defensively.
Yeah, certainly so. Yeah, this next round does feel massive. If Daystar can build a streak of 3 straight, then Soul's Heart are under the pump. Last time out, though, Daystar did leave some big vulnerabilities to that defense that Soul's Heart were able to exploit. Although I backed them in to be the kind of team that would know that pretty quickly themselves and then be able to implement a system to prevent that last time. Of course, on that top 4 defense, they left Mez super exposed. Allowed a deep push, and it was a bit of a mess. Replay package of that last round. They committed 5 above for the majority of the round. Pika dropped late. Able to leverage the Souls for good information, and unfortunately for Soul's Heart, the play just did not work out. Unable to translate that map control in towards a plant, which, to be fair, can be very tricky on that site. But top floor, all focus. This feels like a massive round in the context of the map and therefore the series.
Attackers have located a bomb.
3 from 3 on the opening kill conversions. It's maybe something that Daystar need to try and look for. Maybe you don't just play 5 site. Maybe you do try and get something in terms of a roam, even if it's just one individual. Maybe lurking basement. It doesn't seem like they're going to play out that way.
10 seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too surprised by the Glaz ban, as I spoke about it before, but I do feel like the Deimos is more of an effective ban for the half as a whole. You know, like the Glaz is probably only going to get played on this top floor. And we see a lot of teams can usually deal with it nicely, and you do actually still have the smoke available, which is a good counter. And considering they're not sending anyone on the first floor, well, the Deimos is just going to have the license again. So I'm still somewhat worried for Daystar based on the history of them on this site.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm a little concerned as well, but we'll wait and see. Can Soul's Heart find a weakness to exploit this time out? I mean, early signs indicating towards a shape up with the Monty over towards Skybridge, and maybe indicative that R6 room is the plan point to finalize this attack. As opposed to ops across, and with silence on that side of the map at the moment, it should be relayed by Daystar pretty quickly here that it's going to be an R6 side hit. Rest of the team is currently posturing. All attention now over towards the likes of Storage. And the Roteros to help with a bit of the util clearance onto the Banshees here. From Souffle. First pick to Pika. That's a big one. Mark falls. Advantage Daystar.
Yeah, a massive pick for them. And as I said before, so far all the rounds when you get the open kill, you convert so far on this map of Lair. And it allows them to just fully focus on site defense. But there's the pressure from Scatman, like I mentioned earlier. You add that in with what the Buck can do, and they get rewarded. That first floor pressure nets Soul's Heart a big kill. You don't really need Mark for the executing towards site. Not that you really need Souffle either, but brings it back to a 4v4, negating the impact of that opening kill. 60 seconds left, and yeah, Soul's Heart still backing in that first floor pressure to get them a reward, and they do go rewarded. And this allows for Mr. Punch to start poking his way towards the site.
Yeah, 40 seconds. I9 with the diffuser. Shots don't quite land, but eventually gets the kill onto Pika back.
It just walked into him. Like, he's still firing, and you just could have easily stayed tucked in behind. I don't know if it was a sense of pressure or panic. And Pika just gives his life away. Azuki over towards R6, able to at least no longer allow I9 to do his thing in this 4th round as the time starts to expire. Now I'm expecting it to be probably Scatman as he pushes deep into R6 with the kit. They lose DCH. Mr. Punch needs to stay up, but they've lost Scatman as well, so he has to go pistol. 5 seconds. You can't go for the plan at this point. There's not enough time remaining. Up close, no time to even get the kills. It's Daystar that finally win out on the top floor of Lair. Is that a circuit breaker for this team? They take a 3-1 lead.
It felt like it was once again going to go the way of their opposition, but they were able to lock in late in the round and just do enough to sustain the pressure required to win out that round. And so with that a 3-1 scoreline, it's a big round to win, finding success on the reattempt of that objective. Soul's Heart now left to scramble a little bit. It's basement to follow. Do they have what it takes to break this momentum that's now been built by Daystar? Again, it's 3 straight off the back of 3 opening kills.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Some of the key players on the side of Daystar really starting to come alive. Pika, Azuki, Binbin, 4 kills each. Soul's Heart not necessarily lacking in terms of the fragging department, but just probably lacking the edge when it comes to teamwork at the moment. Let's see what they've got here for this basement re-attempt. Last time out on this site, it was a little slow going. We saw that extension over towards Warehouse from Daystar, which took a long time to break down. Opening kill came at the 1-minute mark of that particular round. I anticipate that Soul's Heart will probably go for a different approach here and not play into that.
3 straight for Daystar. They couldn't manage that last time on this map of Lair. So it's a real big performance, especially after they lost the opening round on Master and R6, and you wonder if that might have opened up old scars, old wounds, but it didn't. And Knuckled Down got to work. They win the next rotation, and now they got 2 more opportunities. Still a long way to go in this, though. I mean, it can be very defender-sided at the best of times. I have a feeling there's at least another twist to come in this series.
Swapping mags!
Still persisting with the shield play, though, for Soul's Heart. And Blackbeard then into 3 rounds straight on the Monty for Mr. Punch. Not that he's been an issue, but it does kind of just slow them down a little bit. More so leaning into the Monty rather than the Blackbeard.
Get ready for explosion!
All basement stack for Daystar does give up this first floor, so the DCH on the ramp, the 3 boogie auto breaches will be able to get to work as they'll look to create the pressure. Suki holding towards blue stairs. Pika just poking his head around yellow.
We'll see if that play from Pika is able to be translated. He's able to have success on like Azuki, though the next to be under pressure. More so here from Daystar with the smoke. Anchor position. Playing for his life more than likely, and a key tool encountering the Monty. So we encroach closer on that 1-minute mark where we saw the opening kill last time.
Big
we
play.
see it again, and that's a massive play from Mr. Punch.
It was the last gas bait from Azuki. Mr. Punch has timed it nicely. He just must have thought, I'm committing. I don't care. He can throw another one. I'm pushing through. And he catches him quite literally as Azuki has just thrown the gas bait, so can't get the gun up in time. Big pistol kill for Mr. Punch. Opens up blue stairs. Unfortunately, gets hit by the Razor Bloom, which will slow him at the moment. But it's an entry point established now for the attack of Soul's Heart. Seal will play close contact. Scatman, the Candelas go out, but he's lost his life. Plant going down for Mr. Punch. Desperately need it, and it's denied at the last second. Now, there was a trade and another follow-up from I9. DCH is going to have to drop. Ended up flashing himself as we head in towards the red time. It's 2v2. This is a pivotal round in the grand scheme of this series. Up close, it's I9. And with a combination with DCH, Soul's Heart will confirm the round. Desperately needed that one to stop the streak of Daystar.
Yeah, big round from Soul's Heart. I think Mr. Punch deserving a round of applause, the way in which he's been able to play out that round. Found a key kill with shield in hand to help propel his team forward. Just at the point where it started to feel like there was maybe a bit of stall out creeping in there for the attack, he stepped up and was successful in getting the job done, helped propel them forward. And again, sure, plant denied. Didn't really matter in the end, able to overwhelm the objective. DAYSTAR elect not to re-attempt and instead head to bunks for round 6. Very successful last time out. Soulsheart didn't have many answers for this site. DAYSTAR had 4 players still left standing at the end of that round, and the first pick of said round came at the 42nd mark as well, so it was slow going for Soulsheart. They tried to prep for the green push, ignored the vert, didn't work. I wonder if that now prompts a change of thinking from the attack this time, where they go ops across, try and flush out top floor, or do they double down? In terms of the attacking composition, probably suggesting that they do go for that first option. They drop the sense, they bring less in terms of XE util and more for the map clear.
Attackers' objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Oh no! What's up?
Oh no!
Hello? I don't know if you can. I don't know if that wasn't a bug. You can't call a rehost. What happened?
But if it was a bug, can you call the rehost? I haven't seen anything like that. I mean, Peak is calling bug, but it has to be confirmed by admins that it was a bug, and rehost has been confirmed.
I've never seen that before. I don't know if we have any replays or if we're
do we have a replay? Yeah,
I don't know what has
watch
happened there. That is absolutely bizarre. That's a first for me. But yeah, rehost confirmed, and yeah, we'll have to wait a little longer. Sure, okay.
Yeah,
never seen that before.
That's a strange one. Yeah, I mean, sometimes like, every now and then, and I shouldn't even say every now and then. Maybe like once a year. No, I'm saying like once a year you might see some kind of bug. I still remember like the rappel in the event in Clubhouse, for example. You know, someone getting stuck on a rappel or whatever. So incredibly rare, but I've never seen that. I kind of wish I was like on YouTube and just scroll back just to double check. Obviously, we're going to get the rehost underway in a pretty big game. It does provide a little moment to just kind of breathe and think their way through things. Of course, they can't communicate as things stand. 3-2 lead for DAYSTAR. Still difficult to kind of envision where this one's going to end up. This next round, obviously very important. So kind of, again, using last time out as a reference point, the first half, DAYSTAR were on defense. It was a 3-3 half guard. Now, in that half of Lair, they couldn't actually get Master and R6 once. They were able to finally achieve that here in the 4th round. And in that half, they never even strung together 2 rounds in a row. This time they strung together 3 rounds in a row. But if it ends up being a 3-3 half, it's the exact same result as last time. Doesn't matter where the sides are won and lost. In the grand scheme of things, it's irrelevant. And if it does end up 3-3 again, well then what ended up happening was Soulsheart just went 3 straight on defense, 6-3 lead. There you go. So there's probably right now in the thoughts in the back of the minds of the DAYSTAR players thinking this next round's really important and we have to now wait a little longer.
Well, it seems like this break is going to be somewhat extended, so we'll send it to a quick break and we'll be back to resume it on the other side.
While we return after everything gets sorted and fixed, we'll get back into the 6th round. Daystar leading 3-2. Bunks briefing the site choice, of course, reselected once again, and everything remains. Well, actually, does everything remain the same in terms of the operators? I think technically they don't have to select the same operators. So they can change it, and it seems as if they have. And into another rehost.
Cool. Why just the one? I mean, why not double down? I mean, I think for clarification though, we can confirm that it was indeed a bug. We won't go too much further into it than that, but just one of those unfortunate things that can occur.
Yeah, as I said, they're like once a year. It's very rare these things happen, but the Daystar, I mean, well, actually, probably more for Soul's Heart. I don't know. I don't think this really matters too much in terms of the time spent outside of the server right now, but it is an important game. Like, these are stressful moments and stressful times. It's 3-2, final map, first half, like one more round, and then you get to have the role swap timeout where you can actually talk more tactically. Technically, they're not supposed to be able to talk in a tactical sense here. So, like, you're not really able to discuss things. I think that it's just for both teams right now, just get to the half. But for Soul's Heart, they still want to get that extra round win so that they can get that 3-3 scoreline, just like last time. For Daystar, 4-2, they'll probably feel like is necessary so it doesn't end up like last time. This 6th round is very important for both of these two teams for different reasons.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that sentiment. Well, I think probably approaching the rest of the match with more so just a 1 round at a time approach is going to be the best outcome. But concluding the half in a strong fashion is naturally going to be the way to go about it. Reho should only take a couple of moments, so bear with us. Side choice to be Bunks and briefing, and as we quickly covered before, the second rehost, teams do have the window of opportunity to change up their compositions, etc. They're not necessarily locked into what it was before the rehost. That's of course to offset the defense a little bit, because if the attacks had full opportunity to scout the entire setup and the composition of the defense, they had a bit of an unfair advantage. In terms of a snapshot as well as to how things have played out so far, some of the key players to watch for the remainder of this 3rd and final map. Pika currently number 1 for Daystar, number 2 in the lobby. 6.5 KD, 1-1 entry, 83% cost. And the man on screen now, I9, number 1 for Soul's Heart and number 1 overall in the lobby. 6.3, 83% cost. He's been very influential here on Lair, but influential across the series. A little bit quieter back on Consulate where he went 5-8, but back on Bank, he was an absolute standout top player in the server for that one as well. Went 15-7. Seal, actually, while he's on screen now, probably a good opportunity to praise his performance so far today. 9-8 on Bank. Consulate 15-6. He was essentially unstoppable. Bit quieter here though on Lair. Actually the lowest performing player in the lobby at the moment, so he'll be looking to find a little bit of form of his own.
I mean, while we have the time, and we've seen quite a lot more out of these two teams, I posed that question to you after the Weibo Orchid game. Between Orchid, Soul's Heart, Daystar, who do you think is going to get that proverbial second spot? Potentially first, but now that you've kind of seen Soul's Heart, Daystar, how do you kind of think they'd stack up against the likes of Crit J and Peeps as we're getting back underway?
Yeah, I think it's actually going to be a challenge. Look, I still back Daystar in right here, right now, to go all the way. I think they still have the potential to take that second slot, but it's certainly not going to be easy. They made Weibo sweat a little bit in that series, did Orchid, so they may even actually go into that match as very slight underdogs, to be fair. But either way, they still have to get the job done here to book that ticket in the lower bracket final. And we resume back on Lair. Round number 6, Storm side of choice. Will we see an even half, or can Daystar walk away with the lead?
Yeah, and that's the important thing. If it's 3-3, as we know from previous times on this map, Soul's Heart then probably take the advantage going into the second half on defense. If it's 4-2, then Daystar maybe take the advantage because they do have the ability to attack, but they just need that extra buffer in case Soul's Heart get on a bit of a roll defensively. And a big final round of the half coming up. A big momentum reset for both teams too, which is kind of funny because you play this one round and then you go into the role swap timeout, small little break again, and then into the bans, and then straight into the second half, where again it will probably be that reset. It's been a real good contest though, and I think that's again what you always want to see. There's nothing more disappointing than the beatdowns, the 2-0s that are 7-1, 7-2, and they happen, and they usually happen earlier in the playoffs. But I think we've been pretty fortunate, APAC North yesterday, today as well here with Asia, that all of the remaining teams are clearly pretty close in skill.
So minute down then, round 6. And so Soul's Heart will commit to dropping the scent to go for the map sweep as opposed to a direct approach this time out on this site. Last time direct didn't work, and so they're looking to switch things up. Directly attacking Mez. Nomad for a bit of spacing and some flank watch.
Reloading.
And Daystar in defense react by falling back. So a lot of space taken pretty aggressively here from Soul's Heart, but still unaccounted for. Up close with the shotgun, lands the first blow for Daystar.
And it's been a hot minute, but just to remind everyone, it's 5 straight opening kill conversions. That could be very influential for Daystar. The team that's gotten that opening kill has gone on and won every single round. And with Mr. Punch low, Scatman low, even though it's a 4v4, as they kind of work their way to eliminate Pika, they're still not in a comfortable position on the attack heading into the last minute of this round. Daystar look pretty well set up. They look like they're in a pretty good position to close this out, but we know with Soul's Heart, and certainly with I9 full health, they can change it quickly. The Scatman will rotate over, air jab at the top of the doorway. They're continuing to try and put as much pressure on this second floor, but they've also got Mark and I9 on the first floor. They're going to go for a 2-2 split here, Soul's Heart. Will this work out for them?
Yeah, maybe. I think they're finding it difficult to dislodge above despite having info off the solid snake. So they'll be patient. They'll wait for Daystar to make a mistake. Try and force their hand. Diffuser gets rotated. 15 seconds. Can they make it work?
Got to go for the plant now. Bin was able to shut down I9 as Mr. Punch falls. Mark gets off the plant. 7 seconds left in the round. And it's looking like Daystar should be on the verge of securing round number 4. And to be then 3 rounds away from knocking out Soul's Heart, as Mark, yes, indeed, does not get the ability to get the plant down. Daystar will take a 2-round advantage heading into the second half. We finally get to the second half of Lair, and it's DAYSTAR that lead. They bettered their performance from last time out against Soul's Heart on this map. Instead of a 3-3 half, they take the edge 4-2 going into their attack. But it does still leave Soul's Heart on the defense. And last time out, guys, they strung together 3 straight defensive rounds as the bands come through: Bandit, Kaid, Grim, and the Blitz.
Yeah, certainly anyone's game at the moment. 4-2 scoreline, defense trailing. It's yeah, pretty classic comp siege at this point in time. And as much as I've been riding the DAYSTAR train, it's still very difficult to confidently assert that they will go on to win this matchup. Second floor, first site of choice. Both the Tachanka and the smoke available. And we are going to see Soul's Heart double down in terms of that area denial for the opening round. Probably in anticipation for the default hit from DAYSTAR. The Kaid and the Bandit bands, meaning that hard breach will naturally be much more achievable here for the attack and may allow them to open a couple more avenues in towards the objective. Excited to see how this does play out. DAYSTAR actually will repick onto the Sense.
10 seconds to go.
And so I wonder if that's indicative of the kind of play that they want to make late round. It could open the opportunity for a slightly different plant position. Maybe that's to try and negate the smoke and the Tachanka lineup. We'll wait and see. Sometimes it allows you to play a little more aggressively once you get that ops control to open routes in towards the site. So we'll see how DAYSTAR look to leverage that.
Well, is there a bit of I-9 magic? I can't help but feel like that's maybe the key to success for Soul's Heart. Here's the difference back on Bank, which feels like a lifetime ago. I mean, of course, having access to the Tachanka was banned out in the first half for DAYSTAR. They didn't have access to it for Soul's Heart. They'll play off of that. I'm more than happy to just play the lockdown defense. Scatman will just like medical. In anticipation of a battle, I imagine, with Pika. Pika will need to be mindful, or at least aware of his surroundings. It certainly does look like he is being mindful, and, well, fortunately for him, Scatman's gone back up above.
Midpoint of the round. Pika waiting for information to play this vert. Interesting little stack from DAYSTAR at the moment, and they spring into action, but I9 slams Pika and Bimbin. Oh, nice swift double. Soul's Heart. Now with the advantage, it's all about consolidation from this point. The follow-up from DAYSTAR has been weak. They're being stalled out by the Tachanka. Seal will try and push forward, but reinforced now on way towards R6. Does find the pick. 4 more to find.
Well set up now. Well-drilled defense here on the top floor. No mistakes, no errors, able to capitalize. Still can't really go anywhere, stuck in the corner. 2 more gas babes still for Mark. You've got the Shamika launcher still with 6 bullets in the chamber. And Scatman ready and waiting to pounce here on Souffle if he tries to make entry in towards display. Easy swing. Now, let's wrap this one up. It's 4-3. Soul's Heart far too good on this top floor. Seal will try and make the most of an opportunity. He's gotten 4 kills since the restart, since the rehost. But he needs 3 more in this round if he's going to pull off the absolute improbable, the impossible. Needed someone to peek, but it's not going to happen as Soul's Heart do lock up the round. 4-3. The tension continues to build in the final series today for APL Asia.
Yeah, that was, wow, a big moment in the round was the I9 double. He's getting peppered from below. Bang. Slams the sec, and Bin tries to trade, but I9 finds the double. He can add that to the portfolio of moments he's had so far today, where he's finding big, meaningful kills, or in that case, and akin to the others, multis. That's really, really good composure from him under a lot of pressure in a key position on the map. Then pretty simple for the follow-up util to do the rest of the work for the
Defenders, protect your
defense.
bombs from being defused by attackers.
We now go down to basement, which had a 50-50 win rate in that first half, similarly to the top floor.
Volcan's ready. Shoot it if you need it.
Souls Heart electing to bring the scope post this time around. I don't believe we saw that back from DAYSTAR, and indeed we did not. And so maybe there'll be a pretty heavy roam element here to the defense.
Initiating jammer.
And I always say in these kind of big games, it comes down to the defining moments. And you know what? We've played 7 rounds of Siege here on Lair. I don't think there's really been any big moments. There hasn't been a single clutch. Not a single round has come down to 1 alive. A couple that have come down to 2. But a lot of the rounds themselves have been pretty one-sided. Oh, that's a big knockdown onto I9, and the flush from Pika nets an opening kill for DAYSTAR. Again, so far, 100% conversion rate here on Lair. And could need now their first opportunity to secure an attacking round win. And what this might do as well is force Souls Heart to get a little bit more on the front foot here and search for a kill back.
Oh, DCH, though, on radar. Surely it doesn't hold that line. It would be very, very risky. But it is getting pressured from above.
Oh
Big
my
shot.
word!
That's a really good read. Also means he doesn't have to go back to the other shell immediately as well. So that's a big, big, big bite back from Souls Heart in the round. It just will slow down that progress of DAYSTAR a little bit.
Essentially shoots out a pixel. And DCH is just going to walk his way back down yellow stairs with company, courtesy of Mr. Punch. This could be a big round for Souls Heart. Could they be the first team to have an opening death but turn it into a round win, tie it up 4-4 as well at the same time? And just then put pressure back onto DAYSTAR. Nitrocell, a little bit of damage, but doesn't find the kill. It's the only one that they had left. 2 gas babes still for Mark. The Boogie Auto Breacher now makes its way over the floorboards. Still 1 more for Seal. Both teams looking to book their place in a lower final next week to fight for a spot at the major. DAYSTAR previously making the most recent 6 invitational. Souls Heart, it's been many years since their last international event. 30 seconds left in the 8th round. Big change up from Pika to come through lockers on the Solid Snake. The 1-for-1 trade that leaves us still evened up in terms of numbers. 2 stacked down below as DCH stays on the first floor. The push through from Pika successful. What a great second shot as well. Allowing the plant to go down, but it's not even required. DAYSTAR will take the round. And it's still a 100% conversion rate. They have got themselves their first attacking round in the half.
Yeah, back to a 2-round margin now. Lovely work from DAYSTAR there. As you mentioned, that conversion continues. It's been a massive determining factor here on Lair. Replay package. Pika was perhaps a little fortunate to win that fight. And ultimately, it ended up going on to be a very big determining factor in the round, as in the last 20 seconds, he was the one to march forward through lab, find the double, and then Seal covered up above against the vert. So some good little individual play there from Pika, who's had overall a strong series, 26-22. As we now prepare for Dorms as the final round of this initial rotation.
just puts the pressure
Kiva successfully deployed.
back into the camp of Soul's Heart. And of course, we've had many rehosts for those that have maybe only just tuned in recently. The current leaders in terms of KD, well, no surprise, I9, 9 and 5. And it's very equal for Daystar across the board, most around the 6 kill mark.
Yeah, 2 minutes remaining still in this round, and Soulside are pretty eager to contest the green take here. Pretty aggro setup there from the likes of Mark on that stairs position. Has some keeper barriers and assistance. Map sweep across from Daystar. They want to contest against the Vert Denial here on offer from the defense. It's a 3-2 split, or like 3.5 split when you consider Mark's position. Just missed a punch to anchor on the objective itself. I9 spotted. The solace key for planting on the wrong. It seems like the defense is starting to come under quite a bit of pressure at the moment. They start winding up nicely here.
Bin literally looks like he's winding up. Radius swing. This is a big round for Soul's Heart. You win this, you go back top floor after this. So 5-5 could be on the cards, but you lose it and you give up 3 serious points to Daystar. Pivotal final minute in this 9th round. I9 wants to get on the move. One to the left side though. He reacts perfectly. The hipfire spray connects onto Pika. Still the advantage with Soul's Heart, even after Mark's death. But now it's 2-3 in favor of Daystar. What indeed? It's flipped completely, but they still have I9 alive. They call upon him once again.
Yeah, Lion scan 40 seconds. A little bit of util still available for Daystar.
Oh, he gets the trade. And Seal is very low. 1 bullet will do it. But he can't find, from that angle, the shots to land. Slips in towards the corridor. Double red ping. He could just spray them both down. Is this one more play for I9 when they need him most? The man with the experience and the clutches, but he cannot do it again. Daystar have got 3 series points.
Holy moly, that was such a stressful end to the round. I9 so close. He did a really good job in making that competitive. Daystar getting red ping spammed in desperation from the rest of that defense, but they're able to clutch up. And now 3 opportunities to send Soul's Heart packing.
Well, it doesn't get any more stressful than this. Facing elimination from kickoff. 3 straight required for Soul's Heart. And the irony is last time on Lair, it was the first 3 defensive rounds that they got 3 straight. They now need to do it in the last 3 rounds of this second half as we look back at the replay.
Daystar went bang, 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 got back into the round and missed the punch, was flooded. And left I9 in an awkward clutch attempt. The BPC in bunks feeding live intel to him. But ultimately Daystar were just able to find the trade. And in doing so, as mentioned, now 3 chances to close this out. I think Soul's Heart are going to make them work for it, but Daystar in a really good position now.
Look, there's one site that you can be confident on typically in this map. It is Master in R6. They won it in the 7th round, did Soul's Heart. This is what you play for in these kind of moments. You got to relish the opportunity and not be fearful of facing elimination. 3 straight to force overtime. Daystar just need one more round and they'll book their place in the lower final next weekend against Team Orchid to fight in that match for a spot in the major alongside Weibo.
Yeah, Tachenko smoke combo. And so in terms of the setup here for defense, again, it's going to be very centered around the default denial. I don't mind this element that they've introduced with Scatman down below reception. He can play Ella Trap. Probably trying to prevent the take up the staircase here in an attempt to protect Mez. In terms of Daystar, though, bring out the Glaz. First appearance of Glaz in the half, and it comes at a critical juncture.
Does put maybe a few too many eggs in the basket when you do bring the Glaz. If you lose that Glaz, it's like, well, sometimes some teams put too much focus on that in their attacking setup. Glaz goes down and it's like, okay, what's plan B? Oh, this is very aggressive from Bin right into the face of Mark. Mark's probably wondering, what is he doing? Oh, and a shot though. Well, there is the Glaz through the smoke. Big kill at least, and it's on to the smoke. By the way, the last round was the first round that the opening kill was not converted. So that streak finally comes to an end. 4v4 heading into the last minute.
Does Seal know of Scatman's position down below? Either way, he rotates off, probably to link up with Pika. 60 seconds on the clock. Daystar trying to draw out this utility from the defense. Diffuser in the hands of Azuki, and he pushes forward to catch DCH.
Going deep, he wants more. Pika went down though as I9 was able to then shut down Azuki. Soul's Heart able to re-establish the numbers advantage. Seal and Souffle. And a disadvantage, but they've got 3 opportunities, so they can play with a little bit of freedom and a sense of confidence that they know they can just go for this. They don't have to worry. But it's Scatman that found the angle. Seal, another one. Can he cause a bit of heartbreak? No, not this round and not on this site, says Soul's Heart. They'll live to fight at least another round. But that is the end of Master and R6 in regulation. The defensive stronghold in Lair is no more. It will have to be basement and bunks briefing for Soul's Heart if they had to force overtime.
Yeah, got off to an awkward beginning with Bin going for the charge. Didn't land. Pika did eventually trade, and DCH got caught sprinting in sight. Azuki tried to capitalize, but then got caught on the cross. Souffle found nothing, and it left Seal in the 1 versus 3. Good disciplined crosses established still from Soul's Heart. Was enough to propel them over the line.
Attackers
down to
need
basement.
locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
3 players alive last time out for Daystar on their successful attack. A lot of that was leveraged from Pika, who was able to sweep in late. Did some good work early in the round and netted a 3k plus one of those being the opening kill. Solid Snake though banned out, so he'll need to pivot.
Well, the big thing for me as well is how are Soul's Heart now going to want to play this? Now, Master and R6, you're forced into largely playing that site defense, but with Basement, you can play the roam game, you can be aggressive. Are they going to play within themselves, within their shells, or will they explore the map, hope to find early kills, be more aggressive at the entry positions, and try and get a good little head start in the round? Been pretty obvious in this map of Lair that, you know, if you can get the first couple of picks, your success rate just skyrockets massively. Only a single round that the opening kill hasn't been converted, and also for Soul's Heart, if you kind of just sit back too much, you might provide too many opportunities then for Daystar to exploit that. So they're not sitting back. I9 on the Azami Overlord Sky Bridge. It's an impact outside the map, close by to where Bin is located. But I get the sense this is just going to be a showing presence kind of play, but I9 does still linger.
Okay, 1-1 trade.
Oh,
Smoke's not going to be on the ground. That's a relatively even trade, I suppose, as well. Bit of a strange one to take place as the opening engagement. I guess that,
I mean, honestly,
throws off the opening kill conversion a little bit as well.
I think that is, I'd rather be in Daystar's position because, like, getting that kill, so, like, You lose the smoke, and it's a 4v4, and they've all retreated back to site. So the Docker is then not really that needed, right? But the smoke actually will be more
There is a scope burst,
needed. Oh, I guess there is the scope boss. It depends on how aggressive Soul's Heart want to get on the roam here.
Yep.
They shouldn't opt to fall back. I think they double down here. And that's exactly what I9's going to do.
Yep. This is the right play.
Oh, the timing.
Uh-oh.
Final impact. I9, is he playing a little too over-aggressive? Hits the headshot as he usually does. Down blue stairs, he had the slight high ground advantage and used it to his benefit, and now they very well can fall back, but he just wants more. I9 is not done. One more round of regulation is required. And no one is surprised as these two teams once again go the distance.
I9 has really found some form towards the tail end here of Lair. But the day as a whole for him has certainly been a success. Big moment now for DAYSTAR. Harambe will call their tactical time out. He'll talk to the team. And this is crunch time. This is where he earns his keep in making the shot call here for what they do for the next round. In terms of what the likely site will be, anticipation is probably bunk site, naturally, I suppose. We'll see what ends up shaping up.
I think Harambe just wants to add another lanyard to the collection behind him. Keep that stack growing. Yeah, I mean, and this is tense now for DAYSTAR just as much as it is for Soul's Heart. You know, when you're 6-3 up, there probably is a release of that pressure. You think, well, we got OT secured. And we've got a good couple of rounds here where we know they're going to be feeling under the pump. But again, I9, it's like he's running towards the challenge. He's not afraid of it. And taking on the role of the leader within this team that says, I'll be the one to do the heavy lifting. You guys just have to follow my lead. And that's kind of what's happening. And, you know, again, you kind of look at the series as a whole. I9's 33-23. Last series between these two teams, he was 37-23. He's just done it again against DAYSTAR. He's their boogeyman. But they still need one more to Soul's Heart to force overtime.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
It's actually a fun stat, really. Across the 6 maps played for these two teams in kickoff, not a single overtime. That bodes well for DAYSTAR.
Drone activated.
Tertiary side of choice, bunks briefing. Comp from DAYSTAR is map clear. I'll go ops across, try to flush out Vert, try to contest the Solace, deal with the mirror. Plant will be the secondary win condition for them. If there's an opportunity, they'll try and act upon it, but it's not the primary objective at the moment. It's all about grinding away at this map control. And for Soul's Heart, it's about finding that right balance between pressure, but also maintaining presence up above. Can't be losing picks for free in such a crucial round. They have to be super calculated in how they try and disrupt this attack. And as you can see from the player positions, it's a 4-1 split. As expected, heavy investment up on the second floor.
I just can't help it. Keep putting my eyes towards I9, where he's playing, how he's moving, is he getting involved? If he goes down early, I can't help but feel that's going to be the way in for DAYSTAR. Flash dump, push in, logic bomb. It's the double kill combination of Scatman and I9. DAYSTAR are crumbling here towards the end of regulation, but they do find the reprieve through Pika and Bin, and I9 is in the grave. That should fill them with the confidence. The boogeyman is put to bed. DCH, Mark and Mr. Punch. Oh, there's a dynamic duo that go a long way back against Seal, Bin Bin, and Pika. 60 seconds, 3v3 for a spot in the lower final.
Yeah, I think the problem is going to be trying to trade out our 6 room. Someone needs to be the sacrificial lamb. They can't all expect to stay alive here, final portion of the round. Somebody needs to send forward, and the other two follow. Especially into the shotgun, up close. This is a key fight. This is must win, must trade.
Must win for DCH. Gets the headshot. Second swing, a little bit delayed, but it's there. Seal got the kill, down to 1. It's Seal in a 1v2. And he cannot make it happen as Soul's Heart claw their way back. 3 rounds straight confirmed, and overtime is needed to settle this lower semifinal. The first overtime between these two in 6 maps. 3 maps played in the upper bracket. It went the way of Soul's Heart. 3 maps played here in the lower bracket. As Soul's Heart go double defense, are they about to break the hearts of Daystar?
Yeah, that's a big statement from Soul's Heart. Now on defense as well for overtime. 3-round streak is theirs. And they've looked pretty decisive, and I think a good example there of the resilience that they're able to find with I9 dropping early. It was a good clear by Daystar. They didn't still let that opportunity slip positionally. Really, really good there on that top floor extension. Played that well. For Daystar, though, on the flip side, unfortunately, it's another tactical timeout that hasn't resulted in a direct conversion. And now they need to attack, continue to attack here, and try and find success. They've had success on attack so far. They took down basement, they took down bunks. One of those are going to appear at least here in overtime, you would imagine, provided we get to that 15th round, of course. So they shouldn't be too stressed necessarily about this opening round, but maybe more so the nature of how the match has transpired will be challenging to deal with mentally at the moment.
I9, by the way, is 17-9. Don't forget we had rehosts earlier on this map. Leading fragger for Daystar is Pika 12-12. Seal also 10-8. And certainly a tense finish here coming up. Our final series of the day for APL. For those who missed probably a good couple of hours ago, Weibo, of course, booked their place in the grand final. They will be off to the major. The grand final to determine, of course, who goes directly to playoffs or play-ins, regardless you're going. The winner of this will play Orchid in the lower final to determine the second team next week. Minute 40 on the clock. Soul's Heart and Trusting Mr. Punch on the Tachanka to hit the Shamika launcher just right late in this round. First pick, pivotal for Daystar. There's only been a single round. And that said opening pick has not been converted to a round win. It is proving to be very vital here on Lair.
Yeah, ops control for Daystar. A lot of utility, though, being laid in response. The smoke to Tachanka combo missed a punch. Cops some damage, but it's not much. Splitting this attack proving to be a bit of a challenge for Daystar at the moment. 60 seconds, and it's just been a lot of posturing with Souffle on the opposing side. It's a big op stack with little movement at the moment from Daystar.
Just trying to spray through the smoke, expecting someone to be in there, but it's marked that falls down. The opening kill does go the way of Daystar. They've taken some damage. They are still susceptible. They still need to get into a good plant position later in the round as well. Shamika launcher, 11 bullets in the chamber. Impact still up for DCH, and, well, I9's still alive. So even with the opening death for Soul's Heart, still not in a bad position. There he is. He gets involved. The impact made. Bin Bin does get the kill onto Scatman. It doesn't change too much in this round. You still got to get into the plant position. And DCH in a wonderful spot to deny entry. Hence the importance of Pimpin on the Blackbeard. Droned out, that's fine. They knew here he was anyway. 5 bullets left for Mr. Punch with that Shamika launcher. I9 holding close inside a display, but it's Souffle that rips his head off. Daystar make the entry in. Azuki's still at the mezzanine. He's got to get into the site and start sticking this kit inside a mask. He does. There's one up. Mr. Punch can't find an angle. Daystar has stormed top floor and have got match and series point.
Oh, that was so close. 1 second on the clock. And they were able to get that diffuser, or at least begin that plant. So close, fine margins. Even despite having a strong man advantage, it was almost the clock that lost them the round, but not to be. Soul's Heart, they're not in a position to deny. And a surprise attacking win on top floor now sets them back up for success. But what's to say, Soul's Heart can't do it right back to them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? It's interesting. Daystar do go Master and R6 when they've had troubles on this site. They, of course, did successfully defend it once back in the opening half, but it was the opening round where they got absolutely stormed in a somewhat similar fashion to what we just saw in that round. More time on the clock. Well, here we go. Daystar have got 2 opportunities. Soul's Heart must now win 2 rounds straight, which is definitely in their wheelhouse. They strung together 3 straight to close regulation. Curious to see how Daystar are going to want to play this. And again, a reminder, the Tachanka is banned. It was a great ban selection for Soul's Heart, and we have seen, of course, its influence on this site time and time again. So it's not available for Daystar. They opted to ban away the Glaz, which left up the Deimos. So I'm envisioning DCH will go first floor, put pressure below. The Daystar send anyone to go and try and deal with him is the question. I don't think they will.
Swapping mags!
Yeah, a lot of big decisions to be made by Soul's Heart in this round as to sort of how they want to approach it, what positions they wish to play. Is it going to be opposite cross? Do they go more display side? How do they integrate Deimos into this play? Is DCH given the license to lurk down below through basement? Maybe make a play up main lobby through Mez? I feel like that's probably a pretty likely outcome for him. And on the flip side for Daystar, just how aggressive do they feel comfortable playing here on this match point round? It's seeming as if they're going to lean into the late round denial of the smoke and the Maestro. They've also got the Azami in play to offer a little bit more playability on the objective as well. And Seal currently being very conservative with that utility, probably just waiting for the Flores to do his thing. Once those Roteros are deployed, then those keeper barriers will be strengthened. In the meantime, it is Ops control for Soul's Heart, midpoint of the round. Wall opened up and starts to get serious now in this round.
I found one! Second floor!
Loading new magazine.
And here's DCH down below.
Oh, Deathmark
Oh
failed.
my
Good
goodness. It's peeking. That gets the opening pick though. And it's on to I9. Even though DCH does get a kill back, he and the rest of Soul's Heart will now need to channel their own inner I9. Their leader in the grave, heading into the dire stages.
Oh no.
DCH hasn't been able to make the impact that he would like from below until then. Just at that moment, they take the advantage, heading into the final 30 seconds.
Last gas babe used by Daystar. There's going to be an opportunity here for the default plan for Soul's Heart. 20 seconds.
Mizuki looks a little bit disorientated. Now under the death mark effect as well. Back over to the mute chamber. Inside of Mask. Mr. Punch getting the plant down as they find another kill. It's a team kill. Bin Bin in a crucial 7-6 overtime match point has taken out one of his top players, and the plant is successful for Seoul's Heart as once again this top floor is just theirs. We need all 15 rounds to decide which of these two teams will play next week in the lower bracket final.
That was a super clean attack there from Seoul's Heart. Absolutely landing the crucial pieces of utility that were needed at the end. DCH finally found something with the Deimos, and once all that smoke util had been expired, that's where the Tachanka ban really comes into play. There was no tools, no util available to the defense to be able to deny that default plant. Team kill certainly didn't help, but regardless, it would have taken some miracle shots to land for DAYSTAR to be able to deny that plant. Good work from Seoul's Heart, proving they don't necessarily always need to be reliant as well on I9, who died early in the piece. They now have defense, and they're going back to the second floor.
Oh my goodness. Master and R6, which is pretty typically the strongest defensive site so far, has been cracked twice in overtime. Man, what a series. And to take a short moment here, guys, I already feel heartbroken for one of these two. I don't even know who it's going to be right now. I'll find out in a couple of minutes, as the same with everyone else, but I just will feel for the loser.
10 seconds left before insertion.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably two of the most beloved teams in APL. And one of them is going to, unfortunately, be sent home packing empty-handed after this one, outside of a bit of prize pool and some SI points. I won't be going to the major. And for the winner, they'll stay alive a little while longer. Massive decision from Seoul's Heart. They opt to go to the second floor. Reattempts a rarity at the moment. But they take the gamble here in round 15 of the final map in this best of 3. Can DAYSTAR replicate their success on attack, or can Seoul's Heart dig deep here and get this result across the line?
It's been a 10-hour day for DAYSTAR. They must be burning low on energy, but they have to dig deep into the tank here. And what is the final round? Whatever's left in the tank. This is it, do or die. Keeping your focus on the attack. Seoul's Heart will just bank on the fact that DAYSTAR will not be able to break through the defensive hold again. They bring a different strategy. They don't go to Tachanka. They don't go the Allah. All his army. And instead they bring the Echo Thorn and Goyo, more trap utility that DAYSTAR need to deal with. And therefore can't just rush into the site.
Yeah,
could that Yokai have a say late in the round?
Yeah, potentially. In terms of trap, I think DAYSTAR have actually had a pretty decent read. They've gathered and scattered a lot of utility. This is the go button though, off the back of the cap util. Some Mes control now available to DAYSTAR. Temporarily though, will be stalled out by their own flames.
I think they need to pull back on this. There's still a minute. They don't have to overcommit. It gets denied by the gas babes, of which there are no more left. You still have smokes. Well, technically 3 that Souffle can play off of. So you kind of have a second go still available. Logic Bomb available. Smokes available for the Glance of Souffle. You've eaten out all of those gas babes as well. And they get the opening pick onto Scatman. VPC still in a bad spot. Gun up from Bin Bin, and he shuts down DCH. And as it stands, eyes on I9. Stay on this man. And do not let go, because he's probably the only chance for Seoul's Heart now with 30 seconds left. Tries to find the angle onto the Blackbeard, and inside of Mask, the plant will go down. I9 knows he needs to get aggressive. Losing teammates though, left, right, in the center. Lands a good tag. Plant successful, and it's only Mark. As DAYSTAR look as if they're finally going to overcome their demon in Seoul's Heart. at the final death in the final round, and after an onslaught of 10 hours of siege, DAYSTAR move on to the lower bracket final, eliminating Soul's Heart.
That was a massive gutsy effort from DAYSTAR and a phenomenal attack to seal the deal. You can see how much it means to these guys who've been grinding away all day. And I mean, certainly, at least from the perspective of Harambe, an element of disbelief that they were able to get the job done. And unfortunately, well, there's two sides to every tale. And for Soul's Heart, the disappointment at the moment will be high, but they'll look to return bigger and better in stage 1.
What an entertaining series. What quality from both of these two teams. I mean, commiserations to Soul's Heart, but commentation to DAYSTAR 8-7. And we continue the trend in APAC of the team that plays the 2 best of 3s in a given day, guys, that they go on and win them both. But boy, was it hard fought for DAYSTAR. Oh my goodness.
Look, I'll be honest, I think my faith in DAYSTAR was definitely put into question a couple of times, especially over the course of that 3rd and final map when Soul's Heart built that streak at the end of regulation. It looked so dire. And then having to head onto attack for overtime was mighty concerning. I really didn't feel confident that they'd get the job done, but they grinded away, and to double down on the top floor site from Soul's Heart, that was a big call. DAYSTAR were successful, of course, on both occasions, and yeah, looking forward to seeing if they can maybe go one step further. Do they have it in them?
Well, they've got to get past Team Orchid now, who put in a really good display, guys, earlier today against Weibo, didn't they? So, I mean, like, it's not as if they're one step closer, but it's another big roadblock in their way. It's not going to be easy. I think that for DAYSTAR, though, they've got the quality. They've clearly been able to run the bracket this far. Why not one more series? Let's go to Harambe as we have another chat with one of the APAC legends. Have we got a dance? Yes, we do. It's the Harambe dance.
How you doing?
Congratulations. Firstly, what's the heart feeling like right now for you?
I mean, it's a long day. I just want to take a rest and eat my dinner. I'm so hungry.
Me too.
I haven't slept.
Me too.
I haven't slept.
Me neither. It's been a long day for all of us. We've been following the journey all day, Harambe.
Oh my god.
What was the difference for you guys on Lair this time around, and also just in general the maps outside of Bank? Of course, Consulate and Lair you guys played them on those maps last time. Did you put a lot of work in those 2 maps particularly to kind of go back and fix some things up?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time doing counters and figuring out what works against Soul's Heart. It works perfect in Consulate, but in Lair, we just not following the game plan, and we start losing like 3 rounds straight. Holy moly, I was so furious. Holy.
Yeah, actually, talk us a little bit about the mental. It was a very, very stressful game. Not just Lair, honestly. Every map had stressful moments. How do you think that the team handled the stress inside of the server today?
It's definitely not good. When we are under stress, we couldn't maintain our man advantage, and also we start doing solo plays, and which I told them like hundreds of times, don't do it. But we win, so it's fine.
It doesn't matter, you won.
Harambe, I'm sure many people told you in your career don't do something, and you probably still did it as well. These things just happen. Before we let you go, is there anything that you want to say? Fans watching on DAYSTAR, of course, has become a beloved organization in the APAC region.
Definitely tune in next week. It's gonna be a banger.
It certainly is. I agree with that. Thank you, Harambe. Congratulations and best of luck in the lower bracket final against Orchid next week. Hopefully, we can get another Harambe dance.
See you,
guys. Bye.
Always love chatting with Harambe. Getting to talk to him twice in a day as well is a delight. But for Soul's Heart, it's a bittersweet ending to the stage, guys. Once again, they fall short. Once again, their quest to make an international event will have to wait at least for a couple more months.
Yeah, unfortunate for them, and yeah, excited to see how they bounce back in stage 1. But we do have our MVP for what has been quite a long day one standout player, being good old Reaps 96. 28 kills over the course of the day, massively influential, as is typically the case. And yeah, just another one under the belt for Reeves. I don't know how many MVPs he's got at this point, but I assume it's quite a few.
I don't think I've ever heard you call him Reaps 96.
No, you gotta give him the full respect.
It's the full name ordeal when he puts on a performance the way that he did. And to be fair, he did so in a game that was evidently very close. I mean, Orchid played really well today and really tested Weibo. That was the ace round that he got. And yeah, he just went absolutely nuts. And again, he's 18 and 10, clutches up in a 7-7 on Chalet. It's not like he's just farming and doing the Reaps special against a lesser opposition. He's doing it in a match that was close.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, a lot of it was impact based, not just pad statting or stat padding or doing anything ridiculous in that regard. It was a genuinely really strong performance, and not too far behind it was actually Toad. Like, those two had a really standout performance today for Weibo, and a testament to just how dangerous that team is.
Alrighty, let's go to the bracket as we've got everything shaped up heading into the final weekend next weekend. Me and you and I, guys, will be fortunate that we get to cover Asia next Saturday. So Weibo Gaming in the grand final. Their opponent will be either Team Orchid or DAYSTAR. DAYSTAR have run the entire lower bracket to get to that lower final. Orchid putting up a really solid performance in that upper final as well, guys. Like, I know it says 2-0, but it was 8-7, 7-5 against Weibo. So they'll be feeling confident, you would imagine, going into that lower final. And just to reiterate, the winner of the lower final will go to the major. There are 2 slots for Asia, and then the grand final, guys, will determine who gets the playoff spot and who gets the play-in spot, plus SI and money and all of that, likes of that.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 massive matches. That lower final really does feel like probably the hardest game to predict that we've had maybe over the entirety of APL so far. I'm still riding the DAYSTAR train. I truly do actually genuinely believe they can make this magical run through the lower bracket all the way back from that very first round where they took down Fury. But Orchid deserve a lot of respect. They were very competitive today. They've been quite competitive over the course of the bracket so far, and I think they certainly deserve a win as well, provided they play well on the day. Then, as you said, grand final also pretty impactful. Big differential in terms of SI points, and that could be a big factor towards the tail end of the year as well.
You know, it's been a long day when someone in Twitch chat asks why the stream has been up for so long. Well, it will go down for a little bit of time, but we'll go to the SAL bracket because they'll be up soon in a couple of hours, and some big matches over there.
Yeah, a couple of qualification matches as well on offer over in SAL. I can only assume that probably starts in about 2-3 hours, given we've been on for so long today. So yeah, be sure to tune in and see how that does shape up. I think if I was to pick one team to keep an eye on, it's probably Team Liquid, Alienware. Excited to see if they can produce a result there against NIP.
We don't have a graphic for this one, but guess what? After SAL is going to be Oats. It's just non-stop siege action. Of course, Oceania also will be happening tomorrow for the APL fans as they'll continue to get through their bracket. And for Asia, well, next weekend will prove to be a big one. You won't want to miss it. Thanks to everyone for tuning in today. As you can see down below, roughly 2.5 hours, SAL will be back on the main channel. So come tune in, have fun. And well, for me and you guys, we'll see you next weekend. Where you can take ones. Right now, just holding, expecting the re-peek, and he has read Bin to perfection. The game sense, now expecting for Seal to push through directly. Ogor is just that guy. Oh my goodness. Melodic upside down. Now going for the vault in. Never mind.
He's the X factor in this round. He has remained completely silent.
Gets the kill. No, he doesn't. Turn would love to have his time again and misses the shot onto Peeps.
Both teams at the moment.
They've short tracked in I9. Oh my, whoa, God, only I9 can do that in this series. I mean, they're probably poor. Oh, off the rappel goes Pika.
Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work out. In the meantime, Mr. Punch will push through. Shotgun from Bin.
Bin.
Holy. But he's getting pressured from above.
Oh
Big
my
shot.
Word.
That's a really good read.
Thank you.